the more they talk about us, then the more they prove we great. Yep. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous.
I'm just trying to see my goal. I'm just trying to see my God. I'm just trying to show my growth. I'm just trying to do my job. I'm just trying to see my goal. I'm just trying to see my God. I'm just trying to show my growth. I'm just trying to do my job. I'm just trying to see my goal. I'm just trying to see my God. I'm just trying to show my growth. I'm just trying to do my job. I'm just trying to see my goal. I'm just trying to see my God. I'm just trying to see my goal. I'm just trying to do my job.
Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the righteous. Don't be deceived, they don't like us. They on the hunt for the Be not deceived.
Deception causes ambition. Deception causes ambition. Deception causes ambition.
Don't be deceived.
Deception causes ambition. Deception causes ambition. Deception causes ambition. Deception causes ambition.
Right? Kings and queens. You are the kings under the king.
Deception
Lord of
causes
the
ambition.
most high.
Deception causes ambition.
You don't have to throw yourself in the air to be
Deception causes ambition.
God loves you for who you are. God loves you for who you are. Oh, God loves you for who you are.
Deception causes ambition.
God loves you for who you are.
Deception causes ambition.
Oh,
Deception causes ambition. 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 Deception. I'm balanced, uneven yoke. I'm balanced, saying, get your life on track. If no one loves you, God will take you back. He's got your back, so stay on track. It's not a race or a place to see who's better or who's greater. We equally made from the hand that's great. God forgive us for having uneven yoke. Uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke, uneven yoke, lukewarm high, uneven yoke, ice cold, uneven yoke, high, low, uneven yoke, worldly serve, uneven yoke. Uneven yoke, uneven yoke.
We were raised to go to school, be brainwashed, keep it cool. Love no one, but still make love. No Rick though, we love the, I love the buddy, I love the world, but I never ever have time for a girl. live the life, the pain and strife. I love to have the children, but don't want the wife. Forget the church, put in the work, live up berserk. Happy to forget the ignorant church, forget that. I confess he's omnipotent, he's omniscient, he's magnificent, always relevant. And I know he's sent me to change the community. So let's get together and let's change it. Me.
Uneven, yo, unbalanced, unbalanced, uneven, yo, unbalanced, unbalanced, uneven, yo, unbalanced, unbalanced, uneven, yo, lukewarm, hot, uneven, yo, ice cold, uneven, yo, high, low, uneven, yo, worldly surge.
Yo, people gonna tell you whatever they want you to hear to try and get you on their plan. We in a world that's consistently getting us off. So make sure you stay on track, but sometimes you will fall off beat. But check this out, no matter what, you'll always get right back on. Keep doing what you're supposed to do. Stay in the Lord. Stay true to yourself. God bless you. Alrighty, what is up? Hello, everybody. All right. Getting ready to get into this message. This is our year. We're transitioning from living or for pursuing the promises of the Most High to living inside of that which we have pursued. We're thankful and grateful for everybody being on today. Thank you for being on with us. And yes, somebody was asking, yes, we have been playing a couple of things on there. We have loading up on to be ready to give out to those who want to help out and give a donation. We have a little playlist of your older songs, working on newer songs, but get some of these older ones out that y'all might not be aware of, have been out for quite some time. Didn't have the community we have now. So if y'all want to look into that as an opportunity for you guys in the future to be a blessing to the cause and things of that nature, and to help us out, and to be able to have a nice little playlist you can have. Amen. So if you like some of the tunes you've been hearing recently, just let us know. We'll try and have those things up. I've been talking about it for quite some time, but it looks like we finally have everything set up, and we had to get YouTube reset and some other things. But it looks like we're able to finally start getting those things together. If you're interested, hold on one second. I'm gonna go grab my. We're gonna go grab our. I have everything except a cup of water. Let me just go grab a cup of water. We're gonna get started. Come on, come on. Alrighty, okay. We'll get started. Thank you for your patience as we set up. Thank you for those who are coming on again from our early rise of Bible study session. Had a great discussion about grace and how grace helps us to get mercy, comprehend mercy, and saved and salvation and all that great stuff. So we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you for spending time with us again. And we're getting ready to have a little series. It's not going to be a long series. However, a series is necessary and mandatory for us to have. We're going to talk about Shabbat. We're going to do a Sabbath series. People have had a lot of questions, and I'm still looking at trying to get some stuff together where we can possibly have some others come on and speak with us. But we're going to do our Sabbath series today. Started today. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Amen. To everybody on Facebook, everybody on YouTube, everybody on TikTok, everybody on the podcast, we welcome you. Thank you so much for being on. Sister Beverly, shalom to you. Shalom to everybody. Shalom. Sister Deborah, Austin, Trina, Dawn, Sonia. MB is Brother Clem, Sister Rhonda. Hello, Sister Tamika, Minister Tamara, Sister Sharice, Needed, Breezy. Somebody told me what their name was the other day. I'm gonna forget. So if I say your name, I told you it takes me a little while to get everybody's name with all these names that we have on here. Sister Sharice, Butterfly Effect, Sister Tracy, um, Sister Betty. I don't know if I said hello to you already. Minister Select Sonia, Bounty, Shima, everybody is coming on. We appreciate you very, very much. Anthony, Nakia. Oh no, that wasn't the person, but somebody else was telling me their name too. Millie, how you doing? To everybody, if I for whatever, Sister Barbara, if for some reason I missed you, Big Brother Thomas, Live in the Fog, Sister Marion, hello. Um, has anyone seen Miss Mac? Actually, you know what? I don't know if I've seen Miss Mac or heard from her in a while. I know she was asking me some questions behind the scenes. I haven't contacted her back though about those. Dr. Hall, hello. How's everybody doing? Grand Rising, everybody. Shalom. Hey, Jess Banks, Sister Helen. Hello to everybody. We appreciate you. Thank you for spending some time with us one more again. We are honored to have you on with us as we start this series. And today we're just going to talk about the foundation. So in this Sabbath series, we're going to talk about the foundation. And once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High, Yahweh, for him being on. Hello, Brother Cole. We give all honor and praise to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, and her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And the tincture of the month is still I Am Renewed. So thank you for being on. Hello, Moto. Thanks for sharing. When we appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you. And welcome. Blessings to everybody. Marshawn, Malcolm, Betty, Isabel, and Solomon. Daddy loves you very much. And to Lottie, Dottie, and everybody. We appreciate you. If I missed your name, if I happen to miss it as you're coming on, Shalom Miko, charge it to my head, not to my heart. Much love to everybody. If you agree with us, disagree with us, whatever, we just ask that you simply keep it respectful. Even if it's not necessarily cordial, we ask that you keep it respectful. You feel free to question whatever it is that you would like. We just ask that you give, respect to each and every person that's on here. And we're thankful and grateful to you all for being on once again. So Shabbat, a lot of questions on Sabbath. And so we're doing the Sabbath series. It might not even be more than this week, but we had a lot of questions. And we look at Shabbat biblically. And everybody will say, well, all of us look at Shabbat biblically, but not really, right? And so a lot of people have a lot of questions concerning Shabbat, concerning Sabbath. Well, we have a whole series on Having Been Led as We Believe, cheesecakes. We have a whole series on it. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, hashtag Find Kofi, hashtag FINDKOFI. We believe in the Tanakh, which is the Bible. We don't necessarily believe in things that are changed in it and manipulated in it. And feel free to have whatever questions, comments, or concerns you have, put it in the chat. Or if you're on TikTok, you can actually put it in the Q&A box. And that way, when I have time and I'm coming through, I can try to make sure if I missed your question, I can come back to it. But yeah, we believe in the Bible, biblical principles, and making sure that we comprehend that grace is who the Most High is, that his laws to protect our rights, that faith without works is dead. Therefore, works are something that is valued at the same time. Faith is valued as well. You cannot have one without the other. And no problem. Yeah. So feel free to listen in. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in. But you'll hear some of the stuff because we're going to be talking about Shabbat. No matter what we talk about, by the way, it's always going to be coming from a kingdom perspective, from a different cultural perspective. And so we invite you, feel free to ask once again, whatever questions, comments, concerns that you have, and just give me some time. In my humanity, I'm not able to, I'm not Elohim, but in my humanity, I promise you, I will try to answer everything as best as I can. But as always, we talk about culture first. People say, what version of the Bible should you read? Amen. I'm glad that you are, and I'm here to teach, and prayerfully we're able to give you what's necessary. So thank you again for being part of the community and listening in. We appreciate you. And always feel free to get in contact with us. You can look on TikTok where it says website, click on that. You can just click on our link tree, and it'll give you tons of ways to get in contact with us if you need more answers. And at the end of this, we try to put up our information as well, so you can see it before we get off. All right. So we are basically always going to deal with culture first. Doesn't matter. People say, what version of the Bible should I read? And you guys hear me say the same thing each time. Culture first. How you doing, chosen one? Right. Omar, right? Is chosen one Omar? I think it is. um, so we are constantly, consistently growing. How you doing, Henry? Thanks for being on. We are always talking about culture first. Doesn't matter which Bible version you read, right? Uh, if you're reading a version of the Bible, you should comprehend it doesn't matter which version you read if you don't comprehend culture. Like for our early rise of Bible study session today, we specifically talked about grace. If you are going to be speaking on something um, as far as grace, you have to comprehend grace means who the Most High is. A lot of us only limited to unmerited favor, so we miss a lot of stuff that comes with grace. How you doing, Sister Christine? So it's the same thing in any version that you read. If you're talking about a firmament, you're talking about a Greek god. A god. If you're talking about God, you're talking about a Germanic deus or deity. If you're talking about Lord God, you don't know that you're talking about Yahweh Elohim, right? If you're talking about faith, you don't know that faith and aman or amen actually are two words that are come together. If you're talking about a royal priesthood, you might not comprehend that we don't have a separate word for royalty and a separate word for priesthood. It's the same word. So you can't be royalty without a priest, and you can't be a priest without royalty, right? Amen. Minister Nice, the Most High. Grace is who the Most High is. So when we're talking about different things culturally, we're going to mess up. Doesn't matter what version you're reading. Doesn't matter what religiosity you want to say you belong to. Doesn't matter what your denomination is. Your denomination should always be Yahshua, right? Should always be Yahweh. Should always be His word. One interpretation, many applications, but one interpretation. If we get the interpretation correct, then we start to see how to apply it in our daily walk. And thank you for the likes, the shares, the gifts, the super chats, everything. We appreciate you. Thank you for helping us out with the algorithm and helping us to establish the kingdom in your very lives, right? So today we want to talk about, in the beginning of our Sabbath series, what is the foundation of Shabbat, right? What is the foundation? When people come to me, how should I do Sabbath? What is it? Well, first of all, once again, we need to culturally, we have some cultural indicators, and we need to have in this institution we call the kingdom. We need to make sure in this institution we call marriage to the kingdom, we must look for the proper cultural indicators. What out of the culture of the kingdom, what out of the culture of Yashville, what out of the culture of the Bible, et cetera, what out of this culturally should we be able to grasp? What should we be able to see? When we hear Sabbath, when we hear Shabbat, what should that mean? Not just what is it. When we hear Shabbat, what does that mean? I'm actually looking around because somewhere around here I have my whiteboard. We're going to do a little writing today. Right? We don't always do it, but today we're going to do a little bit of writing. I'm not sure if these markers that I have are Sharpie markers or markers for the board. Okay, it looks like these are board markers. So we're going to do a little writing today even. We're going to talk about the foundation of Shabbat. What is Shabbat? When somebody says Sabbath, when we say Shabbat, right? Shabbat is just the original word. Oh, sorry. Shabbat is simply the original word for Sabbath. So when I'm talking about Shabbat, when I'm talking about Sabbath, what am I speaking on? When we have our conversation today, what do we mean? If somebody were to write out in ancient times Shabbat, test first. Yeah, right. So if I'm saying Shabbat, if I'm saying Sabbath, what am I really saying? And let me change this mirror image, and I done knocked this thing crooked and everything. Y'all have mercy. Help me, y'all. Having issues today. Alrighty, let's see. Let me do a mirror image for you all so you guys can read it on TikTok. And Facebook is going to come off backwards. There's not really too much I can do. So you might have to do a whole thing where you flip it on your own at some other time. I apologize. Those who are on the podcast, I will do my best to describe it as much as possible. You guys know you can always go on YouTube to be able to find this later and see what it says, right? Is this I am Avra, which you would call Hebrew. I am an Israelite, but I would say probably don't make assumptions as far as what we believe until you hear it. Because people come on here and I guess people make an automatic assumption, but you should always study everything. Hello, Prince. How you doing? So when we talk about Shabbat, Sabbath, first and foremost, let's do something that many people don't do for us, which is let's write it out. Let's just write out what Shabbat is. When we say Sabbath, we're saying Shabbat, right? So when we're writing out Shabbat, we can just simply write what it is. That's actually a place we should probably start first. Hey Deja. And Sister Deja, please remind me if you don't get a text from me like almost right after this live, please text me and hit me up and be like, hey, we need to set up our talk about YLP 83. All right. Please hit me up. All right. I know I've been dropping the ball on that for about 4 or 5 days. Please keep me honest on that. All right. So when we say Sabbath, and hello Fancy, how you doing? When we say Sabbath, when we say Shabbat, what are we saying? Right? What is Israel saying? What is the word of Yah saying when it was written down and it says to honor Shabbat? Right? All right, cool. SWIXT. Thanks for being on. When we say Sabbath, what are we saying? A lot of people go into it's this, and they start going into the esoteric, and they start going into the spiritual. Remember, sometimes we take the spiritual, we make it so mystical that it's no longer practical. Right? Let's make this thing on a practical level. Right? Let's take this thing on a practical level. Don't have any disagreement with you, Carlos, but that's just not what I'm talking about this rising. But maybe we'll get into that in some way, shape, or form. But thank you. Welcome to you. Thanks for being on. So when we say Sabbath, right, we think day of rest and all of it. It is a period of rest. Now, but let's deal with this first. So when I say Shabbat or Sabbath, right, what I'm saying is this right here. Okay. Those who have taken Hebrew characters with us, or those who know Hebrew characters. And yes, I know there's somebody would argue that they want me to use different types of Hebrew characters. That's not what I'm about today. I get it. But let's make the main thing, because you'll get the overall point if you know how to read Hebrew, whichever version you're talking about, right? But we're talking about a specific one we use for our people right here for a specific time frame. Shabbat, Shin, Bet, Tav, Shabbat. All right, this is Shin, Bet, Tav. So Shabbat is what? Shin, Bet, Tav. All right. If you want to take notes, you're going to have to take them, or if you want to do whatever, I'm not going to be holding them the whole time up, right? But if you want to take a screenshot or something of it, I'm sorry, I got the mirror image on TikTok, so it's a little difficult for me to make sure you're seeing it. We're talking about Shin, Bet, Tav. Now, Shin is speaking to chewing or destruction or breaking down even. Bet, the son who comes out the right family, and Tav, the mark or where it's finished, right? Even the cross, if you will. Shabbat, Shin, Bet, Tav. The destruction, right? Destroying some things as through the son that comes out the right family. So you could say Shabbat or rest even comes out of relationship with the son, the SON, right? Or the bar, because we don't want it to get to this place where people start seeing, it's the SUN. No, that's English. We didn't speak English back then, right? So we didn't say SUN and SON and they rhyme. And so we just did something creative, right? If you want to talk about that, you have to talk about thousands of years later when people who started speaking English, kind of sort of English, they started doing weird things. That's not what we do, right? So Shabbat, Shin, the destruction, Bet, the son that comes out the right family. Where did that happen? Tav, the cross. So our Shabbat, this is thousands of years before Christ comes. The way this word is written, Shabbat was already talking about a destruction of the son on the cross. We came out of rest. When did we come out of rest? We came out of rest when sin entered, and we were able to escape sin and have the Holy Spirit in us after the destruction or the chewing up of the son who comes out the right family on the cross, on the Tav, of the mark. So the eternal principle is that even before the death of Christ on the cross, the eternal principle before a prophetic word even was destruction of some things. Now we could break this down into other ways. What about the destruction of things, you coming out the world and destroying, chewing up some things, or escaping destruction because you've come out the world because you're confessing the son who comes out the right family? That's an important part of it. Not just the son, but the son who comes out of the correct family. So you're confessing the son who comes out the right house or the son who comes out the right family.
We're confessing some things. Remember the word confession, homologio, meaning the same logic. So you're destroying some things by confessing the same logic of the Son, and therefore you're in a position where certain things are marked. You are marked. You are finished. You are sealed. Revelation chapter 7 with Yashtil, the 12 tribes, making up the 144,000, and then therefore now others can be grafted in because we're in position. See, Shabbat is something. Sabbath, we start going into all this extra. We take the practical and make it so mystical, right? This is the spiritual, right? And we take the spiritual, we make it so mystical that it's no longer practical. But this is a practical application. You have to be involved in some things. Shabbat, right? So Shabbat is talking about the destruction of the Son who comes out the right family, allowing things to be finished on the cross, or us going through some things and destroying some things, or escaping destruction even by being in tune with the Son who we confess, who comes out the right family, Yashvil, and is on the tav, the mark, the cross, where he himself would say, "It is finished." Tav. See, all these things are going together, or working together with the eternal principles, right? That is the beginning. That is the beginning. That's where we should start with Shabbat. Unfortunately, we do not start there because we do not start with our culture. We start somewhere else, right? So we have a huge issue that comes up with people trying to talk about Sabbath, because first things first, right? No, I'm not using Egypticos. This is not Paleo Egypticos. It's Paleo Avda, right? There are some similarities though, for sure, right? But that's not what we're dealing with Avda language, or what people would call Hebrew. So first things first, before we even get to it's a day of rest, is this, is that. Just with a practical application, we've shown that a lot of us are missing the mark, right? A lot of us are already missing the mark. A lot of us are sinning, so to speak. Sin just means to miss the mark. How you doing, Pool 16? Thanks for being on with us. So we've already missed the mark a lot of times when it comes to this, just simply because we don't even know what Shabbat is. Thanks for the love. Time to leave, right? So if we miss the mark already, then the rest of it's already messed up. If we don't have a concept, it's just like, one of my one of the words that we like to put up here, it's actually the first word. We think that the first word or the first name of the Bible is actually Genesis, but we don't comprehend it. It's Barashit. Uh-oh. Right? It's just like that, right? Like, we miss the context of so much because we miss what the word of Yah is saying. Right? Like we don't even see that it's an eternal principle. Before Christ died, thousands of years before, these things were already written in your language. Now, because you don't know your language, because of that Willie Lynch syndrome, because you've been taught to uphold somebody else's stuff, because we're in the Stockholm syndrome and we're trying our best to live as an animalistic behavior, we miss kingdom psychology, right? We miss a kingdom mind. Right, but here's another one, right? Barashit. We talk about this quite often, right? Barashit is actually the first word of the Bible, right? And Barashit, it literally is translated to the Son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father, coming from the source, becomes our head by Shin being destroyed, Yah being led by the Holy Spirit to Tav, to the place it is finished. So real quick, I'm going to put underneath Barashit, right? Real quick, I'm going to put it back up, but just give me a second. I'm going to put Shabbat right underneath it, right? And you will see that we're having a prophetic, if you will, for people who believe it's got to be prophetic. We're having a prophetic conversation both times. This is the first word of the Bible. You think in the beginning are the first three words, but it's actually in beginning, which is Barashit, Ba'ara. So it's Ba'ara, right? The Son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father. That's Aleph Beit, by the way. We don't have an alphabet, we have an Aleph Beit. So the Aleph Beit is the head, destruction, to the destruction. The head, Bar, by the way, is the same word for son. So the Son who comes out the right family, the Son who comes out the right family, being led to the Tav, or the place it's finished, or the mark that is crossed, being led to the Tav, right? So we can see the Son, Father, Son, Who is our head? Bar, bit, the bar. Sheen, destruction. Tav, being led to the tav. This is your culture speaking. But because we have not been taught this or been influenced by this, we start going into a huge amount. But first things first, right? First things first. Do you comprehend? First things first, do you comprehend the foundation of it? We're having conversations about Sabbath and don't recognize where Sabbath starts. So people will say Genesis because you speak, you speak Greek, right? And the Bible wasn't changed to Greek. It wasn't even interpreted in Greek, or really can't be interpreted. It couldn't be applied to Greek, right? That's what you would call the translation, somebody applying an interpretation to their language. But you can't properly interpret something outside of its language all the time, right? So you're dealing with translation, which was like the fifth or sixth version of the Bible, the Septuagint, rather than dealing with the actual first definition, right? And we got to we got to be cultural, be righteous. Righteous means right legal standing. So how can you legally write something and not even know where it is? We're having a prophetic conversation that before, so Shabbat is telling us that we're in a place of rest, right? Shabbat is a day of rest, a period of time of rest. However, we got to have the proper cultural conversation concerning Shabbat, because if we don't comprehend it, we miss that Shabbat was something that is not only necessary, but the Most High saw we would come outside of Shabbat or come outside of rest, right? So because we would come outside of rest, we would now get to a position to where we needed to get back inside of rest. Therefore, rest was going to be restored by Shabbat, destruction of some certain things that have happened by the sun being on the Tav that would allow us to enter back into rest. Have I ever read it? I've read it with Hebrew characters, as far as making sure that I read the pictographical form of its in its origin. So yes, I've read it in that manner. And it's one of the reasons that I actually came into the faith the way that I have, because I wasn't always here, right? So if we're talking about Yom, you've heard this Yom Kippur, things like that, right? Yom just means a period of time. Yom is just talking about a period of time. Yom is day. Now, once again, you got to be cultural. So we're talking about Shabbat, and people start talking about the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, the seventh day of creation. And they don't recognize that day comes from the term Yom. Yom does not mean 24 hours. Matter of fact, if you know about things culturally and you know about ancient history, including even in Greco-Roman history, we did not have 24 hours in a day. 24 hours in a day is somewhat new in the story of mankind. We think of things as 24 hours in a day, right? So people will go, Yom is day, or it's a period, but Yom is a period of time. It can deal with daylight, and really it's the evening and the morning, right? The evening to the rising, the when it's darkness, confusion to rising. That's the evening and the rising is the first day. This Yom Aleph, and the evening and the rising was the second day. Yom Beit, and the evening and the rising was the third day. Yom Gamal, and the evening and the rising was the fourth day. Right? Or if you even want to, go to the terms like, Shashai or Shlashai or Raba'ai or Shabbat or Hareshan, et cetera, right? But the evening and the morning, these are the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then it gets to Shabbat, right? Which is actually, you could also say as Yom Zion. Yom Zion, the seventh day, the seventh period of time, but also Yom Shabbat. So Yom Zion, the seventh character, also represents the seventh number in Hebrew. It is Zion, a high place, a weapon, and also something that cultivates. Right. So in every now you have to comprehend, it was not talking about when it says the evening to the rising. We are only thinking in context of somebody else's culture. How you doing, Lily? So we are always thinking about somebody else's culture. How you doing, Helen? So we are always thinking about someone else's culture. So we go, oh, okay, so the evening rising. So are you trying to say that the first day when everything happened, that had to be 24 hours? First of all, there were no such thing as 24 hours. It was 12 hours even before it was 24 hours. That's why you have 1 through 12 a.m., the 1 through 12 p.m. But if you actually look in the Bible, when it says this was the first watch, or this was the seventh watch, or it says this was the second hour, an hour was actually 120 minutes at that time. See, so that's a yom, it's a day, but that day is different than what you might think, even just because of the different time period. You're trying to put Greco-Roman identity on a term, and even back then, the Greco-Roman identity wouldn't have said 22, 24 hours. It would have said there were 12 hours in a day, right? When they changed the time, right? That's military time and stuff like that. In military mindset, you're under a military mindset, under a kingdom that uses its military to cause colonization, right? And so, because you're in that concept of what causes militarization, right? You're in a mindset that, oh, okay, I'm going to go off of military time. See, in the military, we say we gotta we have reveille. We know that's a certain time where we say, hey, we've got muster 0700. We know that that's zero. But if we say, hey, we got muster at 7 p.m., we wouldn't say 7 p.m. We would say we have muster 1900 hours, right? 1900. We would know that 12 plus 7, because technically there's only supposed to be 12 hours in a day. But what they're doing with military time, and part of it is to try and make sure that somebody that's not aware how the military works, make you have to think a little bit extra. For us, we know 1900. Let's move. Somebody else, if they got to think 2-3 times to figure out what in the world they're talking about with 1900, that we already have a couple steps ahead, right? So they took military time and gave it to you and said, this is the only time, right? So this is what you're dealing with, is somebody dealing with something as far as that. Also, too, they even call 12 noonday. So we got to comprehend how time is messed up, right? So like time is messed up. Time is messed up because, for example, you have all these cultures coming together. We don't know cultural indicators. So when you hear noon, in your mind, you think, okay, sun is right above my head. If you even think that, you probably just think 12 o'clock p.m. But really, you're supposed to be thinking. But culturally, what's happening is you should be thinking the sun is above my head. Now, why would they call that noon? Thank you, Pooh16. Appreciate it. Why would they call that noon? Yes, you know 1300 if you count on your fingers. Yeah, that's why we say it that way. If you're in the military, you would say it that way because you go, okay, 1300. All right, somebody's not gonna really know what 1300 is. All right, they're already a couple steps behind. We've already started doing some things and maneuvering. That's where it started, right? To get an advantage, to get a military advantage, right? But why, when we say noon, a lot of people don't even think about this. Why do you think noon is 12 o'clock p.m.? See, we're having a cultural conversation where somebody else's culture has been introduced into yours. Time is not what you think it is. So Shabbat is not what you think it is either, because you're thinking only, for a lot of us are thinking even sun up to sundown. They're thinking 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. And we are way off on time. So the reason why when you hear 12 o'clock p.m., you think noon. If somebody says noon, you think 12 o'clock p.m. is because in Kemet, you said you've always known military time. Yeah. So if you think in Kemet, right? Well, we'll get to it in a second, but you'll think in Kemet, what happened is they had a goddess who had a sun on top of her head, and she would walk. And when the sun got to be in a certain position over her head, right, or over their head, so they believed there was this goddess that they couldn't see her, but they could see the sun, and they had it where when the sun got over their head, part of her name was Noon, and so when the sun got over their head, they called it noonday, because that meant the goddess was walking over them and the sun was at its highest point. That's why they called it noon. Yeah, it is. It's a Kemetic deity, right? Or a Kemet, not even a deity. Deity is Greek. It's a Kemetic nature. She's a Kemetic nature, right? Kemetic nature. So this Kemetic nature, when she got to a certain place, it was noon. That's why you say it's noonday. Day, period of time, noon. The sun is in position because they believe that the Kemetic deity is above their head. You're having a cultural conversation. Blessings to you, Naya. How you doing? You're having a cultural conversation. You're just not aware of the culture that's being instituted, right? You're not aware of the culture that's been colonized and been rebranded enough to where you wouldn't even recognize it and where it comes from, right? And the same thing is happening. The same thing is happening with Shabbat. where we're taking somebody else's culture and trying to figure out how do we do Sabbath according to the land of our captivity. Now, we can't do Sabbath perfect, and all the stuff we're going to learn, you can't learn. That's why we're working on getting the land and doing some other things. And eventually, over the next few years, after we get the land this year, turning that into more land and more land, and having land in different places and even land in other countries, you got to have places you can go to where you can have what? You can be protected by law, your laws, your micronation, your private versus public, right? And so noonday is talking about chemistry. You've never learned chemistry. You learn chemistry, which is a falsehood, but you never learned chemistry, the study of the Kemetic people. And the people of Kemet, they studied chemi, or black, or melanin. And they believed that the sun and everything that exists had melanin in it. And therefore, when the melanin was at its highest point, and the melanin caused the goddess to have part of herself, the sun, come into manifestation, they believed, okay, the melanin is above my head. It's noon. Noon became an important mark in the day because the sun, the melanin was above our head. So we're getting the best, we're getting the biggest amount of melanin we'll ever get today for the melanin that we need, coming directly from the sun, and other nutrients that come from the sun that coming today. So the belief system was, wow, noon is in place, right? I'm not going to stay on that too much longer, but I need you to comprehend. Amen. We're praying for that too. As the husband is in place, the family is in place. Amen. And if we ever need to talk to him, let us know. Right. But hear what I'm saying. That's why you talk about noon. There's a whole culture that comes behind it in chemistry. And because you've only learned chemistry and even barely understood that because it didn't make sense because it wasn't in proper context, you're having a different conversation than what you should. You're hearing about melanin, you're hearing, but you're not even realizing that's what's going on. So at noonday is when, right, even think about it. It's even a natural thing at noon that everybody takes break from work, right? 11, 12, somewhere around there, people are trying to take a break, go out, get something to eat, go out for lunch. Why are you going out? Right? It's even internally in you. There's some DNA memory that says that we've got to get outside and get in the sun at noon. But now we're so messed up that come noon, we inside. We're trying to go to the food court, which we brought some lunch with us. We're going to stay at the cubicle and catch up on something. But that's why it's still in you. You got to get outside because that sun is right there. See, so day means period of time, because noon wasn't all day. By what our standard is, we would say noon is for about an hour. Right? For them, they would think noon is about 2 hours or so. But either way, and really, if you think about the fact, it really was about 4 hours or so, because there was the sun is coming from here to here. So we would think like from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the sun is kind of be in this position somewhere in that 4 hours, if not all of the 4 hours, right? I need to get some sun in my life. Right? And that getting that sun in that period of time causes you to not be calcium deficient. You hear what I'm saying? So I could stay on that all day. That's not really Shabbat at this point. Now I'm getting into some other things, but I need you to comprehend. We're having a cultural conversation here. There's cultural indicators that are happening, and we don't know what it's indicating because we're not aware of the culture. Did y'all catch that? We're not really aware of what's going on culturally, and since we are not aware of what's going on culturally, we just go, oh, it's noon. And we kind of do the same thing with Shabbat. We don't really comprehend what's going on culturally, so we just go, oh, okay, it's Shabbat. Right? Like that's basically what's going on. We don't really recognize what's going on, and therefore, since we don't recognize what's going on, we just kind of we just go, oh, okay, it's Sabbath, it's Shabbat. We just keep the Sabbath. You know, people like, oh, it's Sunday, we just go to church, not thinking that church means circus, and Sunday actually means, which we'll get into some, but church actually means circus, and Sunday actually means a day of worshiping the sun, right? And they're mixing in noonday, they're mixing in Kemet with that because they're trying to say we worship the sun. The Roman Catholic Church is mixing in stuff. That's why in the Roman Catholic Church, you got to comprehend the story of this stuff. And we know that there's obelisks in Kemet. We know there are obelisks in Kush. We know there are obelisks in South America. We know that there are obelisks in Georgia. We know that there are pyramids all over the world. We know that there is an obelisk in Washington, D.C. We forget that there is an obelisk right there where the Pope is. In Rome, where his throne is, there's an obelisk there. They're trying to tell you we're dialing up sundial. We're dialing up sun. We're dialing up sun worship for this day. Kush is you're dealing with Ethiopia, you're dealing with Sudan, Eritrea, the Kush Empire. You could say Kush, you're dealing with Kemet because they're brothers. They're related to each other, right? So, but so you're dealing with a lot of stuff because it's a day. It is what, a period of time. And so when they're saying there's an obelisk, they're even trying to have a deeper conversation. When you see that obelisk in Rome, you see that obelisk where the Pope is, the papacy resides. What they're telling you is that we're marrying Kemet to Christianity. And Christianity is where you marry all these things to the Bible and try to make it your own, right? So we're marrying Cush. We're taking sun worship. We're taking also deists and deities and gods of a pagan and Greco-Roman theology and Norse theology and stuff. We're putting it all together, right? We're putting all those things together in a particular place, and we're trying to tell you that we're worshiping. We're giving you the game, but because you don't know how to speak our culture, and you don't even know what started in your culture, right? You're going to miss all that. You're not even going to think about that. You're not even going to make mention of that. It's not even going to be something that's going to be, in your mind, right? It's not even going to be in your mind to think about your culture. It's not even going to be in your mind to think about where did noon come from. It's not even going to be in your mind to think Kemet, or some people are saying Egypt, right? It's not even going to be in your mindset to do that. You don't have a mindset to think about Kemet. So you wouldn't even know that when we say it's Sunday, it's a day of worshiping the sun, and we'll have some worship and everything. And by the way, they're gonna have early mass, right? And then they're gonna have a mass that's gonna be around noon. Why? Because we want to be in position where these Kemetic gods, and we're saying the Pope is supposed to be this god, or this Netzer, and now the Netzer and the God comes together in the godhood, and you're not even realizing that there's no Elohim anywhere in it. Right? You're not even going to realize that there's no Elohim in it. Thank you, Sister Ron. I see you. How you doing, Carol? Henry says, so is it possible to get much sun nowadays? People are looking for shade, trying to comprehend. I mean, yeah, you go out in it. We just have to go out in it. Hello, Dennis, how you doing? So we're having a conversation. And a lot of time people don't know. Hey, Marcia, how you doing? I believe that Jesus is a God, but I don't worship God. I don't worship Germanic deities. I worship Elohim. And I believe Yahweh or Yashvai, Elohim, is part of the 3 in 1. So, right, we're having a different conversation. Yeah, most church services, when are they going to start? 11 a.m. You're going 11 a.m. Remember, I told you, you're thinking a period of time. So you're just thinking noon only, right? Remember, go a little bit before noon and a little bit after noon. What a church service is usually going to be about? Somewhere between 11 and 1, right? Between what? 11 and 1. Why? Noonday service. A period of time where they're having service. So now if they switched it from Shabbat, right? If they switch the service from Shabbat, right? Like roll with me now. You see, if now we got the context together, we got these contextual facts. Roll with me, right? If they switch the Yom, this is Yom, period of time. Yom being led, being pushed in a certain direction that's covered by this. That's doing what? Dealing with spirit, blood, and water. That's what Yom is. Right? A period, it being led somewhere, dealing with spirit, blood, and water. So if we move the Yom, which is when we're led by the spirit, or be led after we're covered by the blood, by Shabbat, Yom Shabbat, which is what? Something destroyed, the son that comes out the right family, Tav. So we take Yom Shabbat, the day of Shabbat, the day of Sabbath, if you will, the period of time for Sabbath. It would read in our culture as being pushed spiritually, or being led spiritually to places that are destroyed, and through the son and the right coming out the right family, him being on the cross where it is finished, Tav, marked. We are now in a different position. We have taken time to rest inside of this Yom Shabbat. If we move the Yom, the day, the period of time, if we move that, we're in trouble, because we move the period of time from where the power of this takes place. We are supposed to rest in Shabbat, rest in a position in the time that's specifically a period of time specifically given for us, or as a period of time, a place, if you will, where we are supposed to specifically make sure things are destroyed to protect us from the ultimate destruction coming through learning about and acknowledging and living by the sacrifice of the son who comes out the right family when he went to the place that was marked, finished, tithed, cross. If we move the yom, if we move the period of time, we got a problem, don't we? Just let's take the spiritual and let's stop making it so mystical, right? Let's make it practical again. If we move the yom, if we move the period of time for Shabbat, we have a problem. And the Roman Catholic Church told you in their canon is more than just 66 books, more than just 80 books, more than just 200 books. They have people that write out canon all the time. And if you read their books, they tell you specifically, yeah, we moved it. Hello, how you doing, Chef? Thanks for being with us, right? If they will tell you straight up, yeah, we moved it. And if you try to see why did they move it, they just say just because. But if you start looking at their culture, you'll see, oh, sun worship, right? See, Yom Shabbat is very important. See, you got to go into a bunch of stuff. We're talking about the foundation of it. If the foundation is cracked, the house is leaning. In Israel, we're leaning all over the place because we don't comprehend Yom. We don't comprehend the day. We don't comprehend the period of time. We don't comprehend why Shabbat was supposed to be in its original place. What's the format for it before there were 24 hours in a day? Before you thought that Yom, by the way, Yom doesn't mean just a day either. It's a period of time. So Yom there can be thousands of years and it'd be considered to be Yom. Matter of fact, there's a period of time. There was no such thing as time before sin, which means that there was no Yom. Eternity is a different Yom than time is. Eternity is a different day than time is. Yom is different. Breezy said, I'm wondering if we even know what day it is. They changed everything. So we do have a calendar we can go off of and be more accurate. Because once again, by the way, the 7 days a week thing doesn't always add up because there's 30 days in a month. And when the moon is in order, when the moon goes back, you know what you do? You're supposed to start all over again. So if there's 30, so let's say there's 30 days in a month, you get to day 28, right? And then, so now you're getting into 2 days. The second day would be, well, before you get to Shlashai, right, which we would call Tuesday, before you get to that day, guess what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to go, right? Instead of going to Wednesday or Shlashai or Tuesday, Shlashai, your third day of the week. If the moon is in place again, guess what you would do? Oh, all right. Moon is a new moon, new month. Now that's a new month. What do? We go right back, Tadai Sham. We go right back to the first day of the week. Right? So every day, right? Every day was a new moon. When the new moon popped up, that's when we went back to the beginning. So even the 7 days a week thing, that comes out of a different culture. Now that's actually closer to, even though we use it in the Gregorian calendar today, you got to comprehend that comes out of that comes out of it, like the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, but it really comes out of Kemet. So you got to comprehend there's cultural indicators and we don't know what culture to go to. And that's the problem we're having. Remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against what? Principalities, the origin of things. And we don't know what the origin is. Well, I don't know how to technically describe the new moon. And what I mean by that is whatever people would call science today, because science is always based on somebody's culture. We have a calendar that we go off of that we utilize that makes it simple enough for me to follow, that I know where the new moon is. And we can give you that link if you ever just want to text us or whatever, or email or whatever, and we can just send you the link. And Minister Tamara actually provided it to me. And it's something that when I researched, it's 100% dead on. That's why some people are doing March 15th or March, whenever they did March, whatever, for the Passover. They just did it, I think this past week, but we're doing it April 15th based off of this calendar. But basically you're dealing with the new moon. Well, the crescent is kind of a little different, but we can get to that. That's not, I don't want to get too far away from Shabbat, but we're trying to lay down this foundation for you. Some of these things will be answered as we keep going through this series, but you got to recognize first, right, that Shabbat is not necessarily always on a Saturday. We do that because we're in the land of our captivity. And since we are in the land of our captivity, you do as what's that old saying? You know, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You're in Rome, right? So while you're in Rome, guess what you do? You kind of have to, right? Like you got to work. You don't have a choice. Like you're part of a you're contracted out to a certain system. We've said happy Shabbat and stuff like that before. You know, this week, or you know, not this week, but last week we said it during the middle of the week, and we actually would have said Tuesday because it's the evening to the rising, so it would have been around 6 p.m. Eastern New York time for myself, because that's where, you know, that's kind of what I utilize worldwide, no matter where I am, to be able to keep time. But either way, right? If you still on Wednesday had to go to work, go to a job, you know, if you still had to make sure that you were doing things that are not of the kingdom, if you still had, you know, couldn't make sure that your children were being taught the way you wanted them to be taught, all these different things, well, guess what? You couldn't keep it anyways, right? So, you know, I don't want to get to a place. That's what I'm trying to tell you about. Keep getting this foundation together. You are not, because you were in the land of your captivity, there are certain things you can't do. Now, maybe you're in a position where you could have taken Wednesday off, if that's what you're talking about. But if you had to go work on Wednesday, if you had to go to school on Wednesday, if you had to learn something that wasn't of your people, if you weren't able to congregate with your people, et cetera, you still couldn't keep it. So I'm not here to, you know, do the whole thing of, oh, this person, blah, blah. Like, I'm in a position to where I'm in my work at all times. So I don't toil for anybody else. So I can keep Shabbat on whatever day, technically, but it doesn't mean that I come on here and I'm like, well, I'm keeping Shabbat. Y'all need to get yourself together, because if you don't have your sovereignty together, you can't do that anyways. No, it's no problem. That's what I'm here for. You're not derailing anything. I'm just saying, you know, we have to comprehend, and it's great questions because people don't know this stuff. Right. So we could talk about a lot of these things all day, but if you're not in a position to keep it, you can't keep it anyways. You know, if you're not in a position to keep it, what you gonna do? You know, so a lot of us are out here trying our best to do what we can, but we're in the land of our captivity. We literally can't. You know, some people have to make a decision. Am I going to get fired because I don't show up on my job, or, you know, am I going to execute the Sabbath? That's a real conversation, right? And we could say, well, on faith, I'm gonna do blah blah. But if you don't have a system set up, if you don't have that place from Revelation chapter 12 where Yastel can go and be sealed away from this stuff, we got a problem. You know, so it's a real thing, and that's why the Bible makes it a point to let us know, like, when we're in the land of our captivity, it's a little different, right? When we're in the land of our captivity, it's a little different. So it's a period of time. Prayerfully, you've gotten this, right? Like, you're seeing a lot of stuff come up, but on the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, this calendar you're using today, it used to be so Julius Caesar, which is where you get July from, Julius Caesar, and you get August from his son, Augustus, right? So Julius the father, Augustus his son, and it was Augustus who changed those two dates, because of those 2 months that meant a lot to him, right? So fourth and fifth month, because remember, the calendar, even the calendar you use, we're off, right? Because we do our calendar like this. We think of our calendar like this. Give me a second. So we do our calendar where we think that, you know, we go by 12 months in a year, and we think that, you know, the calendar is perfect the way that it is, and the calendar is actually pretty jacked up, right? The calendar is actually pretty jacked up. It's not correct. Hold on one second. So we actually are in the wrong place when we think of the calendar. We actually don't think of it correctly. And I'm going to count it out for you the way that it is, just to show you, like, so we have to have these principles together, and we're off on these principles, and therefore we're having a tough time, you know, getting things back in order, just in general. Before we could even talk about Shabbat and Sabbath and all this stuff, we're having a tough time dealing with where we're supposed to be because we don't even comprehend what's going on, right? So here we have the calendar that we go off of, right? But we have the months off, right? And I'll explain it in a second. But we do January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. The reason you do that is because beforehand in Greece and in Rome, they really only had 10 months. And by the way, Julius Caesar is actually was in charge of the calendar at one point, right? So Julius Caesar was in charge of the calendar, and but many people were, but he happened to be the person at that time period who was in charge of the calendar, and somebody in the Senate would have to make sure that they added up, would add days or change the calendar from time to time to make sure that they were on track, because their calendar would get so far, because once again they weren't using the same amount of hours and stuff that we were using, but they used to only have 10 months, and eventually what they did is they added 12. In Rome, they only had 10 months, and there was an ancient Roman king way before Julius Caesar, because for a while they didn't have kings at all. And then there was an ancient Roman king way before Julius Caesar who liked two gods. And so he added these deities, these deists, to them. And that's why you call it January and February, because of the names of the gods that he liked. Now, these two gods that were added, right? These two gods that get added on here, you're dealing with anyway, so what happens is before I get into the next part, what happens before that is basically Julius Caesar is continuing to conquer lands and stuff like that. He goes into Kemet, and Kemet at this time is not under Kemetic royalty, right? They're not under Kemetic royalty. They're actually dealing with Kemetic. You actually have Greece, like the Ptolemaic dynasty, which is where Cleopatra comes through. You're going through the Ptolemaic dynasty, and so through that Ptolemaic dynasty, what happens is that they've taken on some of the things of Kemet, but Cleopatra is not. She's not Kemetic at all. She's Greek. So when people had this, now Cleopatra still would have looked like a black person, so to speak. She would have been a person of color, because Greeks back then were people of color, but she was not Kemetic. Right, so you have this weird thing that happens with Cleopatra, where people are like, Cleopatra was white because she was Greek. No, Greek people look like us. They look very much so like us. Like Leonidas would have looked like us. He would have looked like a brother, right? We would have said that he was a brother back then. He would have looked closer to the Rock when the Rock played Heracles, or who you call Hercules, because you go off of the Roman name and not the Greek name Heracles. Nevertheless, so Cleopatra and them, or he comes down during that time and they basically destroy the kingdom. They don't want the young prince to be in charge. Cleopatra's trying to get the throne, so she goes against her own brother and her own sister, and basically goes with Julius Caesar, and they're losing. Julius Caesar and Cleopatra's side is actually losing for a while, but they're able to keep themselves alive. They've actually taken over what we would call their castle, I guess, and they're inside there, right? And so now what you're dealing with, Arabic language, even of itself, if you're talking about Arabic used to be a people that were nomadic. So Israelites were nomadic. Now people say Arabic because they're talking about the fact that these one people conquered a bunch of people. And so now they just say everybody speaks Arabic, but that's not exactly how Arabic worked back then. Nevertheless, though, when we're talking about this specifically, so the person in charge of the calendar down there realized that the people of Kemet had a better calendar. Julius Caesar realized Kemet had a better calendar. So he went through their calendar. And how did Kemet keep their calendar? Kemet just had 30 days each month. And then they knew that there were 5 extra days that they added for certain events. So they knew that there were 365 days a year. And then every once in a while, they would do something to their calendar extra to be able to make sure that they took care of that leap year. That not where you had the leap year, they did some other stuff to get the leap year, but in essence, they had the form of calendar you use today. So since they had 12 months of 30, right, and then they just had 5 extra days, Julius Caesar counted it up 365 days. Then they got an extra day for a leap year, and then they just added that to the calendar, right? So initially what should have happened is there should have been 30 days in every month. January should have had 30, February should have had 30, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of some months that have 30, 31 and 29 or 28 even, right? Here's the reason why they changed that up. See, we got to work out the foundation of this. The reason why they changed that up in the first place, it was a whole thing spiritual. It's a religious thing, right? It's a religious thing going on here. The reason why they changed that up on a spiritual level is because February was considered to be a spiritually like bad month, right? So they didn't like February being as long as all the other months. So they had to distribute. Remember, they start off with 30 days for each month, trying to follow what Kemet does, but they don't like February having this, but they know they have to add extra days to each month. So they start looking at, okay, we like the god January, so we're going to do 31 days. We'll add an extra day, right? We don't like February. Matter of fact, we really don't like February. So we'll make that 28, right? We're not just gonna make it 29. We'll make it 28. Okay. We'll keep it 30 here. We'll make March 31 day. We like March. April. So we'll keep April the way it is, right? We like May. We'll make it 31, right? June. Yeah. July, we like July, especially when you put Julius Caesar on there later on. So we make that 31, right? You start seeing them putting their religious belief on there. And then, hey, we need an extra leap year. Well, hey, if we make February 28 days, then we can still have a 29th day and it'll still be short since it's a bad month. So we can keep it a short month and not have it as long as the others. It was a spiritual dialogue that went on, right? So when we're talking about Shabbat or when we're talking about the calendar, we're trying to compare calendars. You got to comprehend you're dealing with multiple cultures going on. You're still dealing in the land of your captivity, but don't even recognize you're talking about captivity of Kemet, captivity of Rome, captivity of Greece, right? We're not even thinking about all these things in the land of our captivity. So once again, they added on January, February. This is why if you look at the calendar, right? Now, remember, July and August were changed, right? Let me put this there so you guys can see it on YouTube as well. And let me pull this back so you guys can see it on TikTok. Now, remember, this was changed. So since this was changed, it started off first with March. March was the first one, right? April the second one, May the third, June the fourth, July 5, right? Julius Caesar, you change it. August 6, right? September, Sept 7. October, Octagon 8. November 9, right? December 10. Then they added on 11, 12. And 12, February, the worst month of them all. The one that had the worst luck. That's why I got 28 days and then eventually had 29 days. It's a cultural conversation. So we're in the land of our captivity. We are actually going by somebody else's religion when we're talking about the days of the week, or the day or the months of the year, right? The days of the week. What are the days of the week? Sunday is the day or period of time to worship the sun. What is Monday? The period of time to worship the moon. What is Tuesday? The period of time to worship war. What is Wednesday? The period of time to worship Odin. What is Thursday? The period of time to worship Thor. What is Friday? The period of time to worship Frida. What is Saturday? The period of time to worship Saturn, which is where you get Saturnalia in December, which would have been a 10th month, the last month of the year, where now people worship Christmas. You see, you're having a religious experience, if you will, for people who like to use that word religion in that manner. You're having a religious experience. You're having a religious conversation. You're not able to talk about Shabbat, right? You're having a conversation about somebody else's religious experience. Your days of the week are somebody's religious experience. Your time, noonday, is talking about somebody's religious experience. It's all set up exactly. Idolatry every day is set up for idolatry. And those who talk about Black History Month, I don't know if I exactly agree that it only is put on February because of that date, because it was a Black person that actually asked for the day for the week. But then again, you could say that Black person more than likely was Boule, and therefore maybe it is exactly that. I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know. But that you're literally talking about a whole set. While people are telling you there's no deity, there's no spirit. Why are you guys worrying about spiritual stuff? That's how they get you, blah blah. They literally are telling you their religion. It's a religion. This is what we're dealing with. It's a religion, right? It's not a fact. It's not based off of science. I know somebody wants to tell you it's based off of science. I know that's what somebody wants to tell you. This is all scientific, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a religion. This is a religion. You're talking about somebody's religious experience and don't even know it. Separation of church and state. No, there's not. It's a circus. Church is a circus. Yeah, we talked about the letter J before, how it didn't exist. That's not exactly what I'm focusing on for Shabbat. We're focused on Shabbat today, but that's what we're talking about here. Is a religious experience. Don't let somebody out here try to tell you, oh, it's not a religious experience, or no, it's a religious experience. Don't let somebody tell you, no, this is scientific fact. No, they didn't. Like, why is Saturn named Saturn? You think Saturn is named Saturn because of the science of it? Saturn is a deity to be worshipped. Why do they call it a firmament? You think they call it a firmament just because it's something that's firm? No, firmament is a Greek god. It's a Greek deist. This is not random. Look at the names of it. Do you know Venus is a goddess? Now they tell you, oh, Venus is the most visible star. It's the first star to pop up. Venus isn't even a star. Why did they call it a star back then? They called it a star because they said Venus is the goddess that pops up first. So they said that she pops up first and she pops up last. It's not even necessarily 100% accurate. It's not. But that's what they'll tell you because you're dealing with somebody's religion. Mars, you're talking about war. Jupiter, you're talking about, depending on if you're doing more Greco-Roman or when they even change the stuff in their own theology, you're talking about basically their head god, their head deity. Neptune, you're talking about the god of the sea or the god of the water. Right? And thanks for being part of the community, SW. Appreciate it, right? You said, was Venus also called Lucifer star? I don't know about that. I think there's a connection there, but some of that is a little, if I be honest, is a little murky. Right? It's my pleasure, Carol. But we have to recognize that. So when we're talking about Shabbat, when we're talking about calendars, when we're talking about periods of time, I'm trying to tell you got to be in a position to comprehend. You're not even speaking biblical language when you're trying to have this conversation. People are trying to tell you if you're right or you're wrong based off somebody else's culture. If you don't know where you come from, you'll be messed up. Look, I like the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by Dr. John Gray. It's a different John Gray than Pastor John Gray, but Dr. John Gray from back in the day. However, don't let it escape you that as much as he's going to try to tell you about evolution and science and all this, he named it Men Are From Mars. He's saying men are more at war, and he said women are from Venus. He's trying to say women are supposed to be more like goddesses who speak and do all this other stuff and sultry and all that. He's telling you a cultural story to try and get you to recognize what marriage is or what sex is or why men and women are attracted or how to make your relationship work. They're coming from a religion. I hear you, Manic. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not even prepared to go there. Right? So yeah, everything is renamed to trap you. You're speaking somebody else's culture on everything. It's just like when I talked about Odin on Wednesday. Well, guess what else Odin is part of? When Santa Claus flies in the sleigh, that's because Odin flew over everybody and they were afraid when he flew over. So you went inside. They married him into anything you're talking about in this culture is trying to get you to go right back to what they say. You're in the land of captivity. You are captivated by somebody else's culture. Willie Lynch told you that if you ever got a semblance of something that was tangible of your culture, your mind will try to correct itself automatically. It will try its best on autopilot. When your culture when you get in touch with your culture, it shifts you, it messes you up. There's too much cognitive dissonance. You have to reset. Whether you decide to stay in cognitive dissonance or not, it's going to cause you to come out of it. This whole thing is crafted for you to worship somebody. You're worshiping George Washington. You got Columbia. Washington's supposed to be Osiris, and Columbia is supposed to be Isis, and then Heru is supposed to be, or Horus is supposed to be their children. The eye of Horus that's watching you is supposed to be coming out of their union. They're telling you a comedic story that they stole and told you wasn't of any value, and then used the thing they said wasn't of any value to be able to control you. That's right in the capital of your country. If you want to be an American, a modern American, that's in the capital of your country. That's what your country is founded on. But then the same place will tell you separation of church and state. They are lying to you. I'm sorry, Baba said, do you know anyone facing this problem, or you are interested in a... Oh, you talking about some other stuff, Baba? Come on now. Why are you doing that? So, but this people don't recognize what's going on. Right? Like, people don't recognize what's going on. You are being told to worship at all times. You go to school, you are being told to worship. Oh no, not at school. School, they separate stuff. They don't even let us worship at school. Well, you can't worship a Bible, but guess what you do? You say a pledge of allegiance. What does your pledge of allegiance mean? I'm trying to get you to understand why you need Sabbath. The foundation of Sabbath is important. We haven't even focused as much as what y'all probably thought I was going to focus on, because Sabbath is being messed up because you're coming from a different culture. Thank you, Minister Select Sonia. Appreciate it. Thank you, ATA, for the help, right? Yeah, and it's cognitive dissonance for real. Like, what does your Pledge of Allegiance say? It says, I. That means you are about to do something. No, we don't worship Jesus. We worship Yahshua. Jesus means half man, half Zeus. The nickname given to him by Pontius Pilate, but it's not his name, right? So, but once again, to focus on this, right? If you are, if so, like, if you're in school and you're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, you start out with the word I. I means you, thou, thus, thine. They're focusing on you, and you're about to have an express contract. How you doing, Sister Tanya? You're about to have an express contract with somebody. Shalom, Desiree. Is it Desiree? Right? You said, why is truth being hidden? The purpose it serves. We know the purpose it serves: to keep certain people in power in a certain media or medium or media, or not even media, but the one that the media serves, if you will. Right? But when you say your Pledge of Allegiance, first thing you say is I. Right? First thing you say is what? I. That means you are saying that I'm about to have an express contract. I'm about to speak something and agree with it and have a contract. They got you ready for this from school. You're speaking a contract. While they tell you that you're not doing it, they have to set up I pledge. What does pledge mean? Matter of fact, let's look up Black's Law Dictionary and let's see what pledge means. Let's go to Black's Law Dictionary. See, we only have to work. We work this thing. We make this thing harder than it needs to be. Let's go look up Black's Law Dictionary and let's see what pledge means. What is it to pledge? To pledge something, this is legal terminology, lawful terminology. That's why you got to know law, natural law, kingdom law, marital law, law of attraction, law of first mention, common law, et cetera, right? To pledge something means to put that thing up as collateral. Remember, everything in law is really dealing with commerce anyways, right? So we're talking about money here, and your labor represents money because there's no gold or silver left to back up your gold. Your dollars, right? So to pledge something means to put that thing up as collateral. What are you putting up as collateral? In return for a loan, the collateral must be returned once full repayment for the loan has been received. So I need you to loan me something. What am I loaning you? I'm loaning you this system. I'm loaning you this culture. I'm loaning you the benefits and privileges of going to school and learning what we're going to teach you about our religion. I'm loaning you those things, right? So you as collateral, you're going to pledge yourself. See the trick? This is why people talk about gospel or Godspell or spells, or be careful about how you use words and stuff. That's why we don't do gospel, because gospel is Godspell. Well, which God are you talking about that you're speaking to and having this conversation with, right? What kind of spiritual mindset and pneumatical thought process is going on? Yes, I believe in the Trinity, right? What kind of stuff are we dealing with? I pledge, I'm giving up as collateral for a loan, the right to have benefits and privileges. I pledge allegiance. So I give my allegiance, not to my people, not to Yahweh, not to Africa, not to Alkebulan, not to Ashanti, not to Mali, not to Gullah Geechee, not to Taino, not to Omekshi, not to Cali, not to Wampanoag, not to Sioux, not to Blackfoot, not to Choctaw. I'm pledging my allegiance somewhere. To where? To the United States of America. And we know that when we put United States of America, they're probably going to put that in all caps, right? I pledge allegiance. You said that's where you differ. Okay, no problem. You can differ. Feel free to differ, right? But I pledge allegiance to what? I pledge legally, right? I'm telling you if you went into court and you told somebody that you didn't really pledge allegiance to the United States of America, I'm telling you what they would define it as, right? You talk to them about the agreement and disagreement, right? But you are what? Pledging allegiance to what? To the flag. What is the flag? Right? This is the flag. We can try and go over the names in a second. I got to try and focus on this to make sure that we get through what we need to get through today. I apologize. If you want to put it in the Q&A box, I can try to put it there. You can even contact us if you have further questions, comments, or concerns. We can talk to you, whether it's myself or somebody else on the staff. We can talk to you after about it as well. But I'll see if I can come back to it because I do have the whiteboard out today to be able to spell it out, right? But I pledge allegiance to the flag. The word flag means standard. How are you going to have Shabbat and you pledge allegiance? You pledge what you do what you put something up as collateral so that you can have something in return for a loan. And the collateral cannot be returned. So you got to comprehend how sovereignty works. And once again, I don't give legal advice. I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm just giving you contextual facts. What about Jerusalem? We're not talking about Jerusalem right now. At least I don't think so. I don't understand the question. If you're talking about what about Jerusalem, like right now, where it stands, or Jerusalem back then, or what Jerusalem is as far as the New Jerusalem, and we can try and get into that. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, and hopefully I didn't come off. I kind of came off abrasive on, and I was just saying, I'm sorry for saying the way I did. I just don't realize exactly how to make that work. But once again, you're putting yourself up for collateral, and until they say they're finished with you for whatever you loan, you still give up that collateral. What is your collateral? Labor, gold, silver. You're supposed to turn that in. You're not really supposed to have it, even though they kind of lax on that. You should be owning as much as you can, right? But the flag is a standard. The flag is a standard. You can say a cause as well, but the flag is a standard. That's why when they went to war, you got to understand this is Eurocentric thinking. When a European went to war and they had the flag out there, they called that the standard. Yeah, you're a bond, right? You were the stock. And so you're giving up yourself as a stock, right? The false person. You're giving up yourself as a stock for what? Collateral. Hey, I need you to loan me the right to exist. Okay, no problem. We'll do that. Just give us your labor. Keep paying taxes. Keep being a debt slave. It is a weird thing in other countries. Yeah, you just sign off or pledge in other ways. In other countries, you just sign documentation. You have a birth certificate in other countries as well. You still pay taxes and have to be a debt slave, right? There are other places in other countries where they pledge allegiance, though. And if you get into an army, you're still making pledges. Even if you don't use the word pledge. Once again, if you've ever given up something as a collateral for a loan, then you pledged. If you say, for example, if I send a child to school, the school is going to say, in order for your child to come here, your child is going to have to follow these rules and regulations, and you as a parent are going to have to agree with that. Do you agree with it? Yes. You sign a piece of paper. You say, I'll go get this vaccination, or if I'm not going to get it, I have to make sure I give you something that shows you why it's important, but you're going to follow these rules and regulations, or else your child can't come here. Are you all right with that? Sure. As soon as you do that, you pledged. You might not have said that you pledged, but by definition, you pledged. If you went to a court and you said, well, I don't like this and that or whatever, the judge, the trustee is going to look over the case, and no matter what country you're in, they're going to say, what did you pledge to? You know, so I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, you know, to say pledge allegiance, no, like in like Canadians, I've been to Canada. Canadians pledge allegiance to Canada all the time. Matter of fact, they get mad because they also pledge allegiance to America. They don't like it when you say that you people from the United States of Americans are Americans, because they say, well, we're Americans too. We pledge allegiance to it. And that's in Toronto. That's, you know, that's in why am I forgetting these places now? Sorry, Canada. I'm not the greatest with Canada. Saskatchewan. Where else have I been? Where they speak French. Why do I always forget that place? I think because I want to, because I got bad experience attached to there now. But whatever it is over there, where they had the jazz, Montreal. Um, you know, wherever you, if you go, if I go to London, if I go to Paris, if I go to Swiss, if I go to Free Dairy, or what they call London Dairy, you signing away your stuff. If I go, we keep up the same systems where people wear wigs, even though people have left. You still pledge allegiance to their system. You know, go to Africa and see some of these places where they have parliament that wears the same wigs that they wear in English and British parliament. So we're pledging whether we like it or not. You know, and you're giving permission to somebody. You're pledging. Yeah, Quebec. Yeah, and Montreal is the city I was looking for. But yeah, so you're pledging no matter where you're going. Mexico, you're pledging. Brazil, you're pledging. Right. The system is following you. Right. And by the way, there are other countries to where you get up and, you know, maybe you don't have a pledge of allegiance or something like that, but you definitely sing a national anthem. You know, you don't think that God Save the Queen is something that they want everybody to say the anthem together. That's why the anthem was such a big deal. It takes away from the idea of identifying with your own culture. And right. So if somebody goes to a sports game, because anybody who's old enough to remember, they didn't used to sing the national anthem at sports games. If you're in the United States of America, that didn't used to be a thing at all. But the army, or well, not just the army, the military started paying for the NFL and the NBA and others to be able to make sure that they had their soldiers come out and the flag would be waved. And they did that for recruiting purposes, but also they did it for propaganda. So you saw the flag, and that was supposed to be a standard. And what was the standard? Well, airplanes come over. We got you covered covered in the air, and you got the flag spread across the field. We got you covered. It covers the field. Literally everything you do on this field today, it covers the field, and this and that or whatever. And it was to try and get you emotional, because everybody's emotions are up. Your team's about to play. The people will tell you, even the sports stars who play football on the field, they'll tell you that they don't really get emotional over the flag. They just get emotional because, man, I made it to the Super Bowl. But that used to never be a part of the game at all. Nobody went to a game expecting to have to stand up for the national anthem. That's propaganda. Now you see it done at the high school level. Maybe you even see it at Pop Warner games nowadays, but it didn't used to be a standard. But now they want that to be the standard. You pledge an allegiance to a standard. You're pledging allegiance to a standard of the Republic of the United States of America. Republic is kingdom. Right? And to the Republic. Yes, Sister Barbara. So we're going to talk about, like I said, it's going to be a series, right? So, but I'm going to make sure we get this foundation. So I don't know if we'll hit specific ways or specific things today as far as that. I want people to comprehend the mindset behind it, the foundation, why you got to comprehend the period of time, right? So we will try to make sure that we get Shabbat. Matter of fact, that we are going to try and bring Minister Tamara back. I'm not sure how or when, but we're going to try and bring her back to talk about some things as far as Shabbat too, because she actually grew up keeping Shabbat more so than I did. So way more so than I did. So we're going to talk about that, but we got to comprehend how the system works. You're pledging allegiance to a standard, right, of the Republic of the United States of America, and to the right. I pledge allegiance. You're saying that I'm giving something up as collateral for you to be able to loan me the right to do something. To who? To the corporation, the United States. Right? The United States of America in all caps. And to the Republic, the word Republic is talking about just the kingdom. And to the kingdom for which it stands, right? Stands means it stands up for, it defends, it will support and defend it, for which it stands, why it stands, that Republic, that kingdom, that is the foundation of it, the standard for which it stands, one nation. Everybody in this got to be one. We want everybody to be public, don't be private. We have to protect the private, but really we try to do everything through what? One nation under God, not under Elohim, not under Yahweh, under whatever they want the God to be, including if it's George Washington, the father God of that new Osiris Isis horror story. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, can't be divided within itself. That's why I can be in the system, but I can't be of it, or I can be in the system and be of it. But don't try to be in this, but don't try to be talking about Bible and you're gonna be in the system and in it at the same time and of it. Right? If you'll be in the system and deal with this, fine, but you got to find somewhere to go. It's a sundown town. You better find some way to be able to release yourself and come outside of that system. You ain't gonna be in my house in America and then be telling me off and then think that everything's gonna be all right. And I'm not gonna knock on your door and I'm not gonna make an example of you and you're not gonna be playing video games with your nephew and I'm gonna shoot you up, or you're gonna be in your house and I'm gonna say that somebody's in jail, lives there, and I'm gonna shoot you up, or because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or you're gonna be, walking through your neighborhood in the middle of the night thinking you're gonna be separate of my system and I'm not gonna come and get you or whatever and allow the person that kills you to be able to go ahead and make money off of your name and be signing Skittles bags and stuff. Or you're gonna be selling singles and Lucy's in New York. And I'm not gonna choke you out. And then while you're telling me you can't breathe, I'm gonna say I was scared of you while you couldn't breathe. Right? You're in the system. And if you're gonna be of it, it's indivisible. And you have what? Liberty. Liberty means that you are allowed to do something within a certain limit. You are licensed to. You got that driver's license. That driver's license says that you are allowed to drive as an employee. Who are you employed by? By the system. Right? Who are you employed by with your driver's license? See, so I'm just trying to get you to comprehend all this stuff happens when we're messed up, right? When we don't comprehend how Shabbat works. So this is the period of time that you're living in. And so if you're living in this period of time, you might call it the last days. See, if you hang in there, I told you, hang in there. This is a series now. So we're not going to get everything today, but hang in there, because now if you're living in this period of time, why do we need Shabbat? Why do we need Sabbath? Thank you, Miko. Appreciate it. Why do you need Sabbath? Because you're in a period of time to where if you don't take a day to rest from it, you're gonna lose your mind. People are out here losing their minds. People are out here frustrated over everything. People don't know which way to go. People are confused. You better find a place to be not of that system and have a period of time set up for Shabbat, to rest inside of. Now, the rest is really to rest inside of what has been created. Somebody, prayerfully, you're going to get this. I know everybody wants to go through the custom traditions and all that, but I told you all this before with the Bible. You can talk about reading the version of the Bible. We can get into the custom traditions and all that. If you don't have the culture down, you're going to miss why you need to do what you're supposed to do. Right? You're going to miss it. So I want to make sure. So I'm gonna get to you. I know some people are like, yeah, give me this. How do you do? But other than that, I do things a little differently. And you don't have to do it the way I do. I'm gonna give you as much as I can, right? And all the stuff. We got the rest of the week. But I want you to comprehend on this first part, foundation, right? I need you to receive this part, to see this part so you can receive it rather. I need you to comprehend you are in a position to where you have been dealing with something from someone else's culture so long, and you will miss what Shabbat truly is. You said you were one of those people you're speaking of. I was at one point, right? So you got to realize it. So check this out. You said you saw a couple of days ago with a family member, PT family member. Okay. Right. So you've got to have a place to rest inside of that which has been created. Now, watch all this stuff I've just been saying. I've just been talking a lot about what? About a fake corporation using you as a fake person. Right. I've just been speaking on a fake corporation using you as a fake person. And to Shabbat, Sabbath is really to rest inside of that which has been created. So they cannot own, they cannot patent, they cannot say something belongs to them if the Most High made it, which is why you can be in a system, but in their system, they say that they have ownership over everything because they've made it false. They've falsified stuff. They've used what the Most High created, but they've created a system to completely falsify it. Right? They've used it to completely falsify it. Right? They've used this to what? To completely falsify it. So since they used it to what? Completely falsify it, now you're in a position to where you got to comprehend that you can't rest in their system, because their system is not a system of rest. Why? Because Shabbat, you're supposed to rest in that which has been created. If you're trying to rest in something that's been created, but they can only have ownership over what is falsified, it means that the things that are created are not of their system. This is why people will say, I don't see America having any culture. It's not because America, you can't say they have any culture. It is due to the fact that America cannot, um, America has not done anything that cannot be considered to be falsified. They cannot patent what the Most High made. Right? The straw man, things like that. You are running after the things that are patented, right? But the things that are patented means that somebody had to create it or had to make it themselves. And a lot of these things that are patented were not made under the guidance of the Most High. You are living in a genetically modified society. We're talking about GMOs. But what about GMS? Your society is genetically modified. And so you can't rest, because you can only rest in that which is actually created. Can I go back to the original Shabbat now? See, hopefully you guys are with us. This is why culture is very important. Yeah, they can patent mRNA if they change, right? See, so watch this. Let me go back to the original definition. The original definition of Shabbat. The original, the origin. When is the first Shabbat? It being Barashit Bet Dalet, or what you would call Genesis chapter 2, verse 4. Really, we wouldn't even say all that, because in the book of Genesis is something that was in our culture we didn't have chapters and numbers. That's somebody else's culture where they did that. You were supposed to know this as is. That's why a lot of times you can quote a verse, but you don't know where it's from. Because that's not how you were supposed to just know it. You were supposed to flow through it. I was supposed to be able to go, like when somebody does what we call bar mitzvahs, or I was supposed to be able to come to the 16-year-old boy and I could just start and I could say, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. He was supposed to just go. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the water. And Elohim said, let there be light, and there was light. And Yah saw the light Elohim saw the light, that it was great, and that it was like himself, and therefore, like, he was supposed to be able to just start spitting. Right? The culture was supposed to be in him. I'm supposed to be, mitzvah or mitazavach is supposed to be talking about when you are legally prepared to be an adult male. When we as a group of males have come and watched your life, as we as a leadership in the community have watched your life, we as the parents have watched your life, and we say, we think he's ready, let's bring him before everybody and see what he does. And when he does well, then he is promoted officially into adult maleship, so to speak, if I can make up a word. Thanks for being part of the community, Lenny, right? So go back to the original. Shabbat was a rest before sin. Now with sin, it's even more imperative, right? But Shabbat was something that was created even before Adam. And Shabbat wasn't created for you, even though now it's something that because of sin, now you became created, so it was something for you as well. But Shabbat was created before you even existed, before Adam even existed, right? Yeah, rite of passage, basically, same concept. Right? So before Adam even existed, there was Shabbat. What did it say about Shabbat? What did it say about Sabbath? It said, I think it's Genesis chapter 2, verse 4 is when you start hearing about Shabbat, Sabbath, right? It says that Yahweh Elohim, it says Lord God in your Bibles, if you're in the Germanic stuff, it says but Yahweh Elohim, he began to go into Shabbat, right? People will say the number 7 means it's finished, but the number 7 doesn't mean it's finished. The number 7 means rest in that which has already been finished. Rest in that which has been completed. Rest in that which has been taved. Rest in that which has been vav, the 6th character, literally to be nailed. 6 days, I want you to go around Jericho. But on the seventh day, then you're going to rest inside. You're going to rejoice in what's happening. I'll make the wall fall down. 6 times dip yourself in the river Jordan. And I know you don't like it. I know you don't, but just do it 6 times. Once you've completed it, on the 7th time, when you go down, you're going to come up different. You're going to rest inside that which you finish. I asked you to do it 6 times. Can you just do it 6 times? Stop telling me why the Jordan isn't sufficient. Stop telling me why the Jordan's too dirty. Stop telling me why you don't want to do. Just do it. Finish it. Finish the completion, or get the task completed. When you complete the task, when you go through the number 6, now here come number 7. Or number 7, you're gonna rest in your healing. Yahshua is on the cross. On the 6th word, he says it is finished. First word, right? First thing he says on the cross, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Second word, hey, this day you'll be with me in paradise. Third word, yeah, hey, I'm about to be out of here. Son, behold your mother. Mother, behold your son. Mama got to be taken care of. On the fourth word that he says, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? The 5th word, look, I'm thirsting for something. I'm taking on your sin. It's the first time I've been separated from the Father. I just said in the Garden of Gethsemane, let this cup pass from me. I'm going through some things. I'm thirsty. Right? They tried to give him some vinegar. He drank it first. They tried to give him to him again. He's like, look, this ain't fulfilling my thirst. I'm thirsty because I'm separate for the first time. I thirst. The 6th word, it is finished. It's done. Tav, finished. Aleph, Tav. It is finished. Aleph, Beit, Father, Son connection, going through, humbling himself to make sure he's the door for the Holy Spirit to come through. We're going to do all the stuff from Vav all the way through the Sheen, destruction and everything is happening to his body, so that Tav, it will be finished. The 6th word, now he's going to rest in that which is finished. What's the 7th word he says when he's going to rest? Father, into thine hands I commend thy spirit. I'm resting in you now at this point. It's on you. It's on you, Pops. I did what I'm supposed to do here. It's on you. I'm going to just rest inside what's happened. And then he hung his head and gave up the ghost. He rested inside which that was complete. It's 6 days. For six periods of time. 6 yom, 6 days. 6 days, right? First day. Earth was without form and void, darkness upon the face of the deep. The spirit of Elohim moves upon the face of the water. And Elohim says that let there be enlightenment. There was enlightenment. And he saw the enlightenment, that it was great. Right? Second day, hey, let's take the waters and separate them from the waters, and let's put rakia in between them. Third day, hey, let's make sure that we have the earth come up, and we'll put herb yielding seed inside of it. Right? 4th day, hey, we need to make sure this herb yielding seed has what it needs to thrive. So let's make sure that there's a sun for light, right, and a moon. And the stars, and they can also serve as times that we can separate the seasons and things of that nature. What's the 5th? Then 5th comes up. Hey, what about the things that are going to fly in the air? Right? We need some stuff that's going to fly in the air. So we have some stuff that's going to fly in the air. Some things are going to be in the sea, including even sea dragons that will be later on be called what we call dinosaurs, or awesome lizards, or terrible lizards. Terrible means just awesome, right? So when you hear like Ivan the Terrible or something, it really means Ivan the Awesome, right? So that's the 5th period of time. 6th period of time, let's make sure that there's cattle and stuff upon the earth, and things that can, and beasts for the earth, and let's make sure that humanity comes into existence. Now that is finished, he says it is very so much like me, or in some of your versions it will say it is very good. Now after that, what does he say? Genesis chapter 2 verse 4, he needed to rest. He needed to rest. There's Genesis 2:3 or Genesis 2:4. I think it's Genesis 2:4. He's rest inside which is already that which is already completed. It didn't mean that he went to sleep. It meant he rested. It didn't mean that he didn't walk with Adam in the cool of the day. It meant he rested inside of that which he was done. See, he was in his work now. A lot of us are out here jobbing out, toiling. He was in his work. This is before Adam is even on the scene. Shabbat was there for him to rest inside of that which has already been completed. If some people want to do that or whatever, if you know Hebrew characters, you know that the last character, the 22nd character of the Aleph Beit would be Tav. And that's his character that's used not only in, matter of fact, different versions of Paleo Hebrew, but it's also something that, was used thousands and thousands of years before even what you're saying or whatever. But, it is what it is. Like, I'm not here to make an argument about that, right? But I'm talking about Shabbat today, right? So Shabbat is not a fresh start even. Shabbat is to rest inside of that which has been completed. Right? Like we're trying to take other terms and other mindsets another thought process. Amen. Thank you for that. Right. Like so we're inside. We're resting. When we say we're going to do Shabbat or Sabbath, what we are saying is we are going to rest inside of that which has been completed. So if you ain't completed nothing, Minister Tam was talking about yesterday. If you ain't in a position where you gotten anything done, if you're not fulfilling your duty, not yesterday, she's talking about this on Shabbat, sorry, on Saturday. If you're not in a position where you're doing that, you're in a bad place. Yeah, thank you very much, Zero. If you've decided that Tav is something that was a pagan symbol, and you're gonna, go through that rhetoric, and I being a man of Yah, I should know that or whatever. Hey, I've heard that before. I used to believe in that before. Then I studied it instead of just listening to what somebody showed me, and that's not necessarily the case. But if you believe that, then fine. If you believe that I'm too pagan, feel free to do that. I'm gonna go by what I've studied for myself. And I believe that the Holy Spirit is somebody I'm in tune with just as much. And I've sat down at the feet of many people who would say the same thing. So you can, cross comes from Tim Mount. Okay, that's fine. Keep saying that. That's for people who basically have decided that Yahshua couldn't have died on the cross. Curses every man that hangs from a tree and all those things, right? So it is what it is, right? And so people believe that he couldn't have literally hung from a cross, which would have been made from a tree. He had to be hanging, or he had to be put on a stake, or some people even say he had his hands tied behind his back at a stake. Some people even go to a place of trying to say he was burned. I don't think that's where you're going, because you'd be saying some other things. But nevertheless, my belief system is that if Badashitz was there, if the Tav was always there, if the Tav was telling us what he was supposed to be before, you said he was pinned to a tree. Okay. That's not what it said in Avda, but okay. You don't learn man's culture. Okay. I mean, it is what it is. That's what you decided. He's got to be pinned to a tree versus that or whatever. And usually that comes from people trying to like delineate from the actual Roman word, because they're going to the Greco-Roman. They're not even arguing what it says in Hebrew. They're arguing what it says in the Greco-Roman term. And in the Greco-Roman term, you're using one of the many definitions. And then you have to argue which period of time were they doing what type of crucifixion. And because there's like 7 or 8 different types of crucifixion. So, are you dealing with the crucifixion that's on a pole, crucifixion that's on a stake, crucifixion that has you hanging, crucifixion that has your nails, the nails and just your hands only, crucifixion that some people would have been strangled, burning crucifixion, all that stuff or whatever, right? So I, looking at the time period of when even just Yahshua would have been killed in that 200, 300 year time period, how would they have been crucified? Is for me the ultimate thing. But nevertheless, I'm not going to stay on that, and that's not my. Oh, looks like somebody muted you. But that's not what we're talking about today. If somebody wants to go through that or whatever, we can have a whole long debate at some other time regarding that. But I just go off of the characters, right? And by the way, let me just look this up just to make sure, because people will try to do this. Let me just go ahead and look this up real quick just to make sure I'm on the right track. We're going about to say, I don't want to say something out of school. Let's see. So I'm just looking just to make sure, because there's people that argue that they don't like my version of Paleo Hebrew, which is not my version, but I know what they mean. Yeah. So even if we do this by what you say Paleo Hebrew is or whatever, the Tav is still the same. The Tav is either a straight up T. So the Tav is either going to be straight up like this, where it's straight up, or it's going to be leaning to its side. Doesn't matter which ancient version of Paleo Hebrew it is. It's going to be one or the other. It's going to be either going to be straight up or leaning to the side. It's either going to be straight up or leaning to the side. That's the Tav. And either one, the people are arguing, right? So if it's Badashit, and Badashit, the end of Badashit is saying the cross of the Tav, right? It was telling you from the beginning what was going to happen. So why all of a sudden we get there and now we don't believe that he was on a Tav is something that just doesn't make sense to me. I told you I used to believe the other way, but it was more so because of somebody telling me, Old, New Testament, everything had to be changed, not looking at stuff from the Hebrew perspective or culture. I'm not going off, we're more so having a conversation outside of ourselves. So if you're talking about Paleo Hebrew the way we teach it, if Tav is leaning to the side, if you're talking about Paleo Hebrew the way that other people say that you need to make it happen, which seems to still be versed in a lot of Greco-Roman and even Babylonian type stuff, you still had the Tav straight up and down. So if he was on the Tav, the mark where he said it is finished, that in and of itself seals it for me. The other stuff that you want to go through, we have to have a whole debate format or something really set up, because I don't even know exactly what it is. But once again, it's up to it. It's up to you. It's not something that's going to cause me to love or hate or do anything to anybody else, right? You can feel free to do with that what you will, right? Feel free to do with that what you will, but you have to look at it, from the but somebody's usually going to try and take it from a place where it's like you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way or whatever. I'm not, right. But that being said, so going back to Shabbat is to rest inside of that which has been created, right? To rest inside of that which has been created, to rest inside of that which has been created, right? Period. Like, so that's what we're dealing with Shabbat, is a period of time in which we have to rest inside of that which has been created. So if it hasn't been created by the Most High, you can't rest inside of it. And right, that's what the period of time is set up for, is for us to rest inside of that which has been created. And so, and watch this, I'm not resting inside of what has been created for everybody else. I'm telling you what is as far as what I see. Now, if somebody wants to talk about theoretical things, we can talk about theories, but that's not what, at least right now, I can't get into that theory or whatever. We're dealing with a theory, not something that's lawful, because that's not really written out. When somebody says, oh, he was pinned from a tree, you got to look up, see when did they start saying pinned. And even if he was pinned to a tree, what would have been pinned by? Like a Vav. It tells us like he's also the sixth character, Vav. Ahabach, right? And Yachavach, right? What is his name? Yachava, right? I'll just write this out real quick because somebody had asked about this earlier anyways. There's something that we talk about called Yachava Achabach, which, if you know it in the Germanic type of dialogue, you're talking about God is love, right? And when we say Yachava Achabach, what are we saying? When we say Yachava Achabach, Yachava Achabach, all right? Yachava Achabach, all right? We're saying up top, sorry, I'm trying to read it backwards. Yeah, and do mirror screen. I think I'm doing this right. Yachava, then down here, Achabach, right? Yachava is his name. Yah, the hand of Yah, through the Holy Spirit, has somebody who's nailed, Vav, and gives us access to the Holy Spirit, and will give Yah praise. Achabach, the Father, the Holy Spirit, the Son who comes out the right family, and we have access to the Holy Spirit, give Yah praise again. Put it together. The hand of Yah, pushing us in the direction, which is the hand of who? The Father, through the Holy Spirit, will lead Yashua to be nailed, right? Who is what? The Son who comes out the right family. And therefore, we'll have access to the Holy Spirit again and be able to praise Yah, proclaim him correctly, and live in him correctly. Yahaba Ahaba, or Elohim is love, or what you would say, God is love. So I have no problem with the nail part at all, or the pinned part. But we start getting into other people's culture. It was established thousands of years before people started changing it to whatever. What would happen, right? So, we have to look at it in that way, right? So we have to comprehend what it is. And this is not everybody's revelation. It's not a revelation for everybody. It's not everybody's Bible. It's not a Bible for everybody. It's for those who are willing to look at things culturally. So once again, though, you have to rest. Shabbat. We're talking about Shabbat. We're talking about rest, right? And are you in a system that allows you to rest? Does 40 hours a week allow you to rest? Did 40 hours used to always be a work week? Who came up with 40 hours for you to work? You know what the number 40 means in the Bible? You hear what I'm saying? Shabbat. The system is set up to get you away from Shabbat. Yeah, I didn't say I don't know where that's coming from, but thank you, Minister Lexon. Yeah, I didn't say to anybody quit your job, right? But you can eventually find work that does it, or start working on your business. Well, some people believe that he can't be on the cross. That's something that's actually come up more so in the last few hundred years. That's not even something that was always initially there. They're trying to say that he wasn't on the cross. And usually that comes from an Afrocentric mindset, and I don't mind it. It comes from African brothers and sisters who are basically saying, like, really, for real, can we do this right here? Like, let's just go ahead and deal. I'm going to say something. If your child is listening or watching, depending on their age, you may or may not want them to listen to what I'm about to say. So just keep that in mind if you got them listening, okay? Here I got a straight line. A lot of people are even under the mindset that this right here, basically in European mindset, is supposed to be a phallus or a penis. And so they say basically like this right here is supposed to be a penis. And so they basically put two penises on top of each other because they're into homosexuality. And so they say that's where you got this from. That's not really based off of much, but that's kind of what started a lot of this stuff that kind of is popping up today and people trying to steer clear of the cross. Like if we want to keep it 100, right? If we want to keep it like 100, let's keep it 100. That's where the dialogue started. Now, you're not going to find anything. And the same people who would say that you should be against that have no problem, though, with you having this in your home, right? And I'm not against this being in your home necessarily, right? But you have this, you have an obelisk. If you got an obelisk, this is a penis, or it's a mock penis, it's a dildo that was used and rode by a goddess over somebody that was dead to be able to create horrors, right? Who's dead, necrophilia. Now, I'm not saying that, this, because this is the same principle. And forgive me, I'm not great. I can't really draw, so y'all forgive me. I'm going to do my best. Right? It comes from really the same principle before people started trying to attach spirituality to it, right? Even though everything is spiritual in a sense, but it comes from the same Ankh principle, right? So we have no problem with the phallus or anything like that. But what they're trying to say is they took this, right? And they took away the woman, right? That was part of the Ankh. This is what people say. There's really nothing to back it up, but this is just what people say. And they said they took this away. They took away the woman's part and they just put that up there. But that's not truth because this existed at the time of this. But that's why some people say this is the real cross. But it's a lot of different things culturally. See what I'm saying? So culture will have you get in some weird places where we're having conversations and we're not actually using proper cultural indicators. You see? And thank you always, Bless, and appreciate that. Wow, thank you. Right. So you have to have the proper cultural conversation. You're having a whole bunch of cultures fly across, and people are therefore now going to say, okay, well, let's go back in history. See, where can we find, okay, well, crucifixion wasn't always with the cross. Okay, so that doesn't mean he was crucified. Okay, well, it says he was pinned. Well, pinned doesn't necessarily mean that he was pinned in this direction and that direction. Okay, and you have this whole thing that pops up where we make a religion out of something that's not cultural at all. You see? So you'll hear a lot of stuff that's coming up and a lot of dialogue that's going back and forth and a lot of situations and like they're not, oh wow, thank you, always blessings, appreciate you. You have a lot of different things that are popping up all over the place and it's not necessarily what it's even talking about. We're having somebody else's culture pop in and we're arguing on behalf of somebody else to make sure somebody else stands up. That's not us. That's not for us. It's not for us. Why are we speaking these words when we are in America and we speak English? Why not? Is what I'm saying not valid? Is when I say, hey, in this language it doesn't translate, so this is how you have to translate it your best to be able to make it to work? Does it make, I don't think we should stop at something, I mean, why? I mean, you don't speak French, but you believe in like saying somebody's like Jordan-esque or somebody's Kobe-esque. Well, that's French. Why would you use French in this place or whatever? 40% of English is French. Why would you use it? Why would you speak English, therefore? Because English is not even Anglo at all. It's English. I mean, what do you speak? Why should we go back and correct anything? Of course, we should go back to correct things. Wow, always blessing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You said the Bible says speaking clear so the non-believer can understand. The Bible also says that it will come across, Yahshua himself says that you'll speak to people and it'll come across as parables, because this isn't for everybody. Not everybody's going to have an ear to hear it. Am I correct in saying that as well? So I think we should be holistic, holy in the approach, and not just do a thing of like, I like this one part of it. This is how we're going to speak. And namaste to you is what I see. And peace be to you. Right? Bonjour. Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va bien? Hopefully. Right. But yeah, so we're talking culture and people are having a lot of these arguments. Wow. Always blessing. Thank you so much. Right. We're having these arguments with people based off of something else completely different. We're having these huge, long discussions and arguments with people, and it's not even based off of contextual facts. The context we're talking about is Shabbat. So once again, Shabbat was made so that the Most High himself could rest inside of that which was created. He created something that was on the plane, on the level of the earth realm for you and I. And then he was able to take what he created, and he was able to take that thing, right? And I'm sorry, he was able basically to create something that mirrored the kingdom of heaven. Excuse me. Let me say it that way. And so he created something that could be mirrored on earth, so that he could rest inside the same way he rests in the kingdom. In heaven, he created a kingdom of heaven on earth, so that he can come inside and rest in the kingdom of heaven on earth. See, wherever the Most High's foot treads, it's his. Just like wherever your foot treads, it belongs to you. So he created Shabbat so that wherever you go, it should be where you can rest in. See, so Shabbat was not even originally, going back to the term, it really is no 24-hour period. Thank you again for all the love. Appreciate it, right? But Shabbat does not necessarily go to a place, right, of where we have to be in this belief system or whatever, where it's like, what am I trying to say? Hey, Rahul, thanks for being on with us, right? Like Shabbat is not a place or it's a period of time. What am I trying to say? Shabbat was not a 24-hour period, even though we know 24-hour period is like a new made up kind of thing, right? Thank you for the love, Minister Tamara. Thank you. Always bless and appreciate it. Your name, you living by your name right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you so much. If you like for somebody maybe to reach out to you and stuff like that, if you find that much value in what we're saying, let us know. But Shabbat is not designed only for a 24-hour period. So even in that, right? Shabbat ultimately is supposed to be something that teaches us within this 24-hour period how to ultimately get to a place of Shabbat in everything that we do. See, if I have to go and work for somebody 40 to 80 hours a week, some of you 100 hours a week, if I've got to work 40 to 80 hours a week for somebody else, how am I going to be able to rest inside of that which I have created, or that the Most High is using me to create? How does that exist? You see that? How does that exist? Oh, we all have a lot to learn, tulips, right? How do we get to a place to where if I have to toil for somebody else for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a day, how do I ever get back to what's for me and for my people and for my family and for my spouse? How do I do that? Okay, I have the ability to sew clothes, and so I work as a seamstress for somebody else. But I don't design my own clothes because I got to work as a seamstress 55 hours a week. Then I got to pick up children. Then I got to see what they're doing in homework because somebody else is teaching them, right? And then I got to maybe do something for my spouse if I'm even dealing in that, et cetera, et cetera. Like when have I systematically and systemically, going back to our 12 pillars of wisdom, when have I systematically put something in place that systemically allows me to always be in a place where I'm resting inside that which I create? The Most High has creative power. He lives inside of you. He wants to help you to be creative. And here you are never creating because you have given your time to everybody else. Where is your Shabbat at? Where is your system that allows you to have Shabbat? Where is your system at that's going to allow you to rest inside of that which you have already completed? Where is your system at? What have you set up for yourself? See, it's not just only, see, we're going to talk about, yes, what to do in a 24-hour period and all that stuff. But I need you to comprehend before we even get to those things, that when we talk about this is what you do here, this is what some people do as far as candles. This is what some people do as far as fragrance. This is what some people do as far as if they don't answer emails or phone calls or do any services or whatever, even though people still have services on Shabbat, right? This is what some people do as far as gas in their car. This is what some people, before we get into all those things, and that's just more so information. Before you can do all that, yeah, we're not in position. I need you to comprehend sovereignty is key, because sovereignty causes you to ensure that you can actually be in Shabbat. Amen. Yeah, I used to work. I used to work 90 hours a week. And then sometimes you had jobs where I only worked 60 hours a week, but then technically I would take that work home, because I had work to do. I had paperwork to do. I was always running behind. We always were short staffed, so I had to do what I had to do. I used to take kingdom business home, right? As far as, hey, I got to make sure I'm calling everybody. I got to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. My wife and children are like, yo, where you at? Right? I'm in the kingdom, supposedly doing kingdom stuff, but my family's falling apart. Where they do that at? That the very kingdom you say you serve is causing your family to fall apart. Lack of Shabbat, lack of a period or a place of rest. Lack of Shabbat, lack of a place of rest. How you going to how do you even have the ability to rest? Is it in you to rest? Or is it in you that I got a job, I got to toil? I got to work 50, 60 hours so that they can give me that gold watch at the end. If they even do that nowadays, they don't even want you to work 50, 60 years anymore, right? But I got to find a place, work 50, 60 years for them. They'll give me a gold watch. And once they give me that, I won't even feel like I'm the same human being. I won't feel like a man anymore. I won't feel like a woman anymore, because I'm not toiling for somebody. I'm not making sure somebody else can take a better vacation than I can. And we get mad at people. Look, I'm not saying brothers should be out here lazy, but comprehend, a lot of these young brothers out here, they're trying to hustle because they'd rather work for themselves than work for somebody else. They want to be in the place of Shabbat. It's a natural place to be. Don't get mad at the sister that says, hey, I want a man to make sure that he takes care of security. You're supposed to take care of security as you would for the Most High. Thank you, Ransom, and always blessing. Thank you again. Thank you. I appreciate it. Really do. Right? Thank you so much. Right? What are you doing as far as Shabbat? What are you causing for a plate? Some people won't tithe. I'm not talking about you got to do it to me, because some of y'all, this is the first time you're even hearing me speak. I'm talking about you don't tithe to anything. Anything of value that causes you rest. I mean, you'll tithe to the car company, and you'll tithe to the vacation spot, and you'll tithe to to Budweiser, and you'll tithe to that great wine, that white rose. I used to tithe. Well, I can't say I tithe because it was cheap. I didn't have to tithe to it. But I used to do some wild stuff, drinking that Steel Reserve and MD 2020 and stuff. Some people tithe into weed. Some people tithe into dope. Some people tithe into the television. They try to the television. We said at the same time, Minister Nice, right? People tithe into so many different things. They tithing, but hey, I don't have any time for prayer. I don't know if I could make time for prayer. I don't know if I could make time for my business. I don't know if I could make time to grow food. What? Hey, MD 2020, I ain't gonna hold you. MD 2020, I can't remember what it was. I feel like it was orange, right? Orange to MD 2020 shoot. About twice a day. That was cheap. It was easy. And it came in a little glass bottle and everything. It was only $3. Steel Reserve, that stuff make your stomach fall out. But if I ain't had no money, shoot, you can tie the Steel Reserve pretty easily. You said Clubtail. I ain't really mess with Clubtail. I don't even know if I ever had Clubtail. I know what Clubtail is, but I don't think I ever had it. Yeah, the 211 Steel Reserve. Yes, sir. That was, hey, I ain't lying. I ain't gonna lie to you. Oh wow, always blessing. Thank you so much. Bounty blessing. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, right? But I'm just saying, people got time and effort and energy and finances to tithe to so many things. You can tithe to make sure that you in the club free before 11. You make sure you get your stuff together. You put your outfit together. You tithe to the latest fashion. You make sure that you come in there. Maybe you come in there to make sure, if you got a little money, hey, we're gonna make sure that we get a little black car service tonight. All that stuff. Like you great on that. But when it comes time to let's get this in. What have you concepted, or what concept are you with that's coming out of your sept, out of your precept, the environment that you're in? What have you created to where everywhere you go, it belongs to you? You ain't got no tithe. I tithe. I tithe finances. Not just in the SOC. There's people above me. I got to tithe. I got to give people, even crediting people with stuff is tithing. Tithing is not just finances. Tithing is your time, your talent, your effort, your energy. Where's your land? Where is the food? What are your children learning from you? Your children learn from somebody else 8 hours a day. What is 8? Let me do some quick. Well, 8 times 6 is 8 times 6 is 40. Yeah, I'm sorry. 8 times 6, 8 hours a day. No, I'm sorry, 8 times 6. 8 times 5, right? So if your child goes to school 5 days a week, that's 40 hours a week. Can you say that you give your children 4 hours a week of education? Somebody else is giving your child 40 hours. I would submit to you that it'd be best that you give your child at least 4 hours a week of education and have them get zero education from the world. But they're getting 40 hours a week. And that's not even including how they're being educated to get on the bus and what uniform they have to wear and what they have to do after school and if they have to go to a babysitter's and what their homework says, right? If they're part of the band or drama department or the orchestra or choir, if those things even exist anymore, right? If they're playing sports, if they're doing it, like they're being educated nonstop. Where's your time? Where's your ties with them? You got to create a system or partake in a system that says that we are going to do something different. That's why I keep saying, y'all got to let me know when we're going to get these babies together. Thank you, Always Blessing. Wow, I very much so appreciate that. Thank you, Bounty. I'm always blessing. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Right. But a lot of us only think the tithe is money. No, like where's your time, talent, effort? Like Israel can't be separated if we don't put no effort into it. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little too wound up. Right. But I'm passionate about it. Shabbat is a place or a period of time that you can rest in that which you've created. What have you created you can rest in? You say keep going. I'm just saying I can feel myself. I was about to start. Let me, because before I feel like I was getting to a point you weren't even gonna be able to comprehend me in a second. You said when I started coming out to church, I started being led to bless people in different ways. Yeah. Like what have we created that we can rest inside of? Rhonda says, so true. You have to be careful with who's educating your child. Yeah. If you know, watch this. If you know your child is going somewhere and they told you that they're against your child learning about slavery, you better make sure that first things first, I got to teach you about slavery. Why? Because if I don't teach you about debt slavery, you're going to be a debt slave. They're trying to keep your child in a wicked system. You're supposed to be in the system. Fine. If they're going to get sent to school, they got to be in the system. You better find a way to make sure they're educated out of it. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Like we're out here doing some wild stuff with some wild concepts because they're not ours. They're not our sept. They're not coming from our precept. They're not coming from the Most High's precept. Before you talk about Shabbat or Sabbath, you better make sure you comprehend that Shabbat is about getting you to a place, not just on Saturday. Thank you, Shlanda. Not just on a Saturday. Shabbat is about trying to get you to a place. Thank you, always blessing. Wow, thank you very much. Right? We're going to do something special for you. All that stuff. I know you don't want it, but I'm gonna try. We're gonna see if we can reach out to you. But like. Shabbat is about what? Shabbat is about being in a position where ultimately, hear what I'm saying? Ultimately, we need to be in a place of Shabbat where we create something or we're able to rest in what we've been created. And then you finish that period of time and then you go ahead and you create again and you rest inside that. What is the only thing, now that we've got that concept together, we could keep on going on that over and over and over again. What is the only thing that you and I, that should bring us out of Shabbat? What is the only thing that should keep taking us out of Shabbat, that can take us out of Shabbat? that should be allowed to take us out of Shabbat. A lot of people take themselves out. What is the only thing? Somebody help me. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, podcast is long since, been off. What's the only thing? Somebody help me. What's the only thing that should ever be allowed, because it's the only thing that can take you out of Shabbat? Amen. Thank you, Minister Select Sonia. We appreciate it. What's the only thing? Somebody help me. What is the only thing? There's so many things that take us out. I'm talking about what's the only thing. And see, when you realize what this only thing is, then you'll start looking at all these things that are out here. You said death. I would even say death can't, because all I'm doing is going from resting in what I created in the physical to resting and that I created for myself, as far as when I worked out my own salvation with fear and trembling. Right? So what is death? I mean, besides death, what is it? You said Yahshua? No. Yahshua wants you to be in Shabbat as much as possible. But these are great things. This is why we got to think this stuff through. Like, I want us to think our way there, right? Leaving the world, all this stuff. Watch this. The only thing that took, what, put it like this. What caused Yahweh? What caused Yahweh to come out of rest? You hear it? You hear me? What caused Yahweh to come out of rest? Temptations. We're getting closer. Well, temptation technically is it. Sin. There we go. Sin. Missing the mark. When I miss the mark, I go, ooh, need to get back in my work. Work this thing, 6-day period, get my 6-day grind on, so to speak, right? My 6 periods of time, get my stuff together. All right, let me rest inside that. Or, you know what? Somebody's out there sinning. What am I called to do in my work? I'm in my rest. I'm taking time out. I look out, man, them cats in the street, they're doing this, other, whatever. What can I provide to the community, to society? What can I do to call somebody else out there to be able to what? To be able to grow and progress? What work do I have? See, I come outside of my rest, which still I work inside of rest, right? But I come outside of the rest where it's recharging and figuring out what's going on and living inside of that and up. Okay, let me get back to work. What's my work? What's my calling? I'm called to teach. Let me teach something. I'm called to create this thing called land, right? For people, let's get this YLP 83 going. I'm called to be able to make sure that I'm a great husband and father. I can be an example to others. Let me be a great husband and father. I'm called to be able to do one-on-one coaching, life coaching, and marital coaching. Let's get people's lives together and marriages together. Whatever your calling is. Some of you call to cook. Hey, somebody out there, you know, one of the best things you could do for somebody that's out there that thinks nobody loves them, give them a home cooked meal. Right? Some of you out there call to be able to dance. You know what? Put on a show for somebody that doesn't think anybody will be able to have a show put on for them, and put it under lights and stuff, and tell them that, hey, we wanted to put this out here. This whole thing tonight is about love. You know, somebody out there is called to be able to give a smile. Some of you have smiles that are out of this world, and you know, just seeing your smile will cause somebody's day to be able to use your smile, whatever it is, right? But I come out of rest because sin requires you to come out of rest. If you want to have rest and stay inside of that which has been created for you, and stay inside of what you have created for yourself with the help of the Most High, using you as the conduit to cause manifestation, you better make sure that you stay away from sin. And if you're going to come out of rest, so to speak, you better make sure that you're coming out of rest to be able to bless somebody through your work. Stuff ain't perfect. Stuff still ain't together. Okay, I finished with my rest. It's time for me to go back out. He said, smile ministry. Yeah. Some people can cook. Yeah, you can cook. You can cook somebody into a blessing. For real. You know, sometimes your work might need to be able to get on somebody. You know you can do better, but do it in love, seasoned words. Somebody like, man, you ain't gonna be, you just like your daddy. You ain't nothing. You retarded, blah, blah. Like, people say some heinous stuff, don't they? Right? But you can flip that around. You know what, man? You can do better than this. I don't know why you doing. Why you gonna put your hands on that person just because it is? You better than that. You greater. You stronger than that mentality. You ain't got to be out there like them, bro. Why you doing what they do? You got so many different things you could be doing out here, bro. Like, come on, let's get it together, man. I got you, man. I used to be in the same place. I see the greatness in you, man. I can't let you fall like that. Real talk. You know, talk to him different than what you did. Some of the people y'all remember from church, some of the best times y'all remember was fried chicken. Some of y'all were children and didn't care what the message said, but you could smell the chicken was being cooked. And after church ended, before you were gonna have to go into the evening service, you was ready to go down and be part of the fish fry meeting and the fried chicken ministry, right? The fish fry ministry, the fried chicken ministry. You remember that because somebody put some love on that. That was what they brought. That's what they rested inside. See, when you got there, you didn't recognize what was going on. They were rested. See, they were fed when you were fed. I know people that didn't even eat, but they went home full. Big Mama and them down there toiling. Some of the brothers down there toiling. Go home smelling straight like chicken and fish. But we're happy to do so because they saw a little child walk away, swaying back and forth. Pastor so and so got to eat, and they were excited because they could serve him the way that they didn't have the money, they didn't have this, but you know what? The church blessed them with something. They went out, they bought the material, they fried the fish and did all that stuff or whatever. They put that little bread on the bottom to make sure that they didn't have to worry about the excess grease and all that. They had the whole system set up. They had to go place and everything. They said, the pastor and his family, they said, look, I can't give you any money, but you bless me with a word. Boom. We learned how to serve watching people rest in that which they created. When we came down there, we were just resting inside what they had created. They had made tables. They put the tablecloth on there. They had the white meat, the dark meat set up. They had the bread. They had greens, or they had string beans. They had mac and cheese. Don't let them have mac and cheese. That was it, right? That was all everybody was looking for. They had the mac and cheese, and it was the old school mac and cheese. The stuff that was bubbling on the side. The stuff that was 5 cheeses and all that stuff. The stuff you wasn't just going to get there anywhere. You couldn't buy that stuff. You couldn't afford to go. You couldn't go to the buffet. I don't care where it was in the South. You weren't going to Old Country Buffet. You weren't going to Piccadilly's. I don't even remember all the names of these places we used to go. You weren't going to these buffets and getting that. That was something that Mama had to put her heart into. You weren't going to get that anywhere else but that. That's because she had rested inside that which she completed. Oh, thank you, Sister Miko. She had rested inside of that which she had completed. You said imminence because boy will become men. It's imminent. You got shut down by the government. Oh. Said you hungry? Yeah. Right. But you rested you rested inside that which was created. You said you were part of the eating committee. Hey, so was I, right? You said you got the extra crackers on communion. Right. Old Country Buffet, another one, right? But I'm just saying, like, wherever it was. Like you couldn't get that anywhere. You couldn't just go anywhere and get that. And then on top of that, you didn't even have to pay for it. Maybe sometimes they ask for a donation, but I know a lot of times, like, I wouldn't even have the money, right? Especially when I was homeless and I was going somewhere, I had no money for that. So I would just, try to fast. Somebody realized I was fasting. They said, well, are you fasting because the Most High told you? Or are you fasting because you don't have nothing? And I was like, well, it kind of started because, I ain't had nothing, but I usually just try to fast at least until service starts. So they say, okay, well, we won't give you any breakfast, but make sure you come back after this. I'm gonna make something just for you. And somebody blessed me. You don't think that sat with me and taught me about how to serve? We thought we were just coming to eat. No, we were coming to the Shabbat. We were coming to rest inside of what somebody created. You said Piccadilly, where am I? I'm all over the place. I go all over the place, right? And I've eaten at some Piccadillys. I've eaten at some different places, right? All over the place. I just don't eat at them anymore, so I can't really remember. But I've been all over the place. Used to be a place in Maryland. I don't think it exists anymore. Well, in Virginia and Maryland, and I don't know if there were any in DC, but Virginia mostly, right? I guess a place called Chesapeake Bay Seafood House that we used to eat at when I was real little. That's another one, but I don't know how many people are familiar with that. That was probably just a place that was just in that area, but there's a lot of places, man. But you go to those places, and they cook better anywhere than you're gonna go, right? Anywhere you're gonna go. Yeah, went out of business. Okay. So they were teaching you how to rest inside of that which you have created. Y'all hear what I'm saying? They were teaching you to rest inside of that which you have created. They were doing what? They were teaching you how to rest inside of that which had been created. Oh, I think I've been to Captain George's before. At least I've heard of it. I don't know if I've been, but I think I've been to Captain George's. I've definitely been to Williamsburg a few times, not just to the what is that amusement park over there? Not just to the amusement park, but I've been over there even to the Colonial Williamsburg, stuff like that. You had the Sweden House. I've got family who's been to the Sweden House. I've never been though. But we have some family in the D, around the D, you know. But these are places. And why do you remember these places? Why do you remember the stores you go to? Because when you come inside there, you get to rest inside there, which was created. You worked, you got your labor. Somebody gets to serve you. You can remember, and you really like it when somebody goes outside of that and serves you. Right? Shabbat is there to serve you. Remember, Shabbat was not made for man. The Most High tells us this. We'll get into this part tomorrow. But Shabbat was not made for man. I'm sorry, man was not made for Shabbat. Rather, excuse me, Shabbat was made for us. It was made for the Most High. It was made to be a place that we can rest inside of that which has been created. Oh, Dusty's. Wow. Dusty, that's taking me back to a little baby right there. I don't think I've been there since I was like toddling. But I do remember Dusty's though. You know. But you remember these places because of service, and you remember them for better or worse, depending on how deep they get you. My wife said, no, well, is King's Dominion in Williamsburg? I thought Busch Gardens was Williamsburg, right? King's Dominion it's in VA. I don't know. Is that near Williamsburg too? I don't think so. Paramount King's Dominion, the one in Virginia. I know there's used to be another one. I don't know if there still is, right? But you have to be aware of those things, right? You have to be aware of those things. You have to where is Williamsburg then? Williamsburg is not in Virginia? Yeah, Busch Gardens is in Williamsburg. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Busch Gardens is in Williamsburg. I don't know where King's Dominion is exactly. I've been to King's Dominion quite a few times in my life, mostly, younger, probably like 13 and younger, but I've been there a few times as an adult as well, at least a couple times as an adult. But yeah, I'm not sure about that. But long story short, Shabbat is supposed to be about resting inside of that which you have created. The question, beloveds, Davad, is this: have you created something that you can rest inside of? You might not have, because you're in the land of your captivity. You might not have been able to take off from your job and this and that or whatever. You might have to work on a Saturday, right? Might have the job out on a Saturday. When you're on that job, are you willing to fast? Have you created an environment that you can rest inside of? You have some ownership of that day. You can at least fast when other people are eating. Have you been able to put the cigarette down that day? Have you been able, like something you can do in defiance of the system, right? Have you created something? Have you created it? Look, some of us just don't ask for it. You have not because you asked not. Have you gone to your bosses and said, hey, I will work my behind off between these hours, this and that. I really need Saturday. Like, I promise you, I will work so hard for you Sunday through Friday or whatever that you can give me Saturday, right? Have you created an environment? Have you let your bosses know how important it is? And when they say, well, we don't know, and then from that point on, you say, okay, I'm going to work real hard until whatever, or I'm going to keep working real hard. If you never honor your promise or your contract as far as giving me Shabbat, well, guess what? I'm just going to have to go do something else. Have you honored? Like I was, when I was jobbing and I was working for somebody, or, jobbing out, and I told him, I wrote down before I started, for everyone I started, hey, I can't work these times. I need Shabbat. I need Saturday. Right. And when they tell me, oh, well, you can't have this and that or whatever, you're going to have to work Saturday, this, that, whatever. I mean, all right, well, I'm going to work hard and we're going to see if we can have an agreement. Oh, well, they don't keep up the agreement. And this is times past. Now, when, lately, I can't say now, but lately when I've had jobs, the most recently, I've always just told them I can't work Saturday. Or even before that, when I was still doing the church thing, I can't work Sunday. But there was a time where it's like, okay, well, look, if I prove to you that I've worked this and that or whatever, can I get somebody, if I can find somebody to switch with me or whatever, can we switch? Because a lot of times I was a hard jobber. And so they'd be like, okay, we want him to show up because he toils, he moves fast, he moves consistently. My body would fall apart because I would literally, keep moving to the point to where like I would have problems with muscles and stuff. I had to learn how to like eat healthy and hydrate and stuff just to make sure that I could move all day. I was literally like moving as if I was working out at the gym, no matter what job I had. And eventually they would be like, okay, you earned the right to have your Sunday off or your Saturday off eventually, or eventually I just would sign documents with them and say, look, I'm not going to work on Saturdays, period. I'm not going to work on Sundays. I'm not going to work in between these times. Especially when I started doing the lives, even when there was no money in the lives and nobody showing up, I was telling people like, I'm going to be committed to this day. And I created an environment to where now SOC has grown enough and Kofi 40 stuff has grown enough. And now Bloom and Flourish stuff has grown enough, and Changing Lives Initiative stuff has grown enough to where I don't have to do anything on those days, period, unless it's something I'm led to do. Right? You have to create an environment. Yeah, you might not be able to work in certain departments, and you have to do that by faith, but do it as led. I want to make sure I'm saying this. I'm not telling you. So somebody's going to watch this on YouTube later or Facebook later. You guys will be able to see through the recording, right? I am not telling anybody quit. I'm not telling anybody you better do whatever you feel like doing. I'm not saying F that job, all the stuff that people think. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is start working towards creating an environment that you can call the shots in, right? And then once you have the right to use your free will, call the shots. SOC is Servants of Christ. That's the name of the organization I'm over, right? Or this family unit, if you will. We're followers of the way, but we call ourselves Servants of Christ legally for years, 2004, 2005, right? But I'm not telling you to do these things based off of just to just work without or to move without thinking. Make sure you are led in everything, right? I'm not here to tell you to quit. I'm telling you, start creating an environment. While I was jobbing under somebody else, I was in my work. And when I would start, and then here's the issue that a lot of us have as we get ready to take our leave for today. A lot of us have this issue where we job out, but we never are in our work simultaneously. But then we make the mistake when we start doing both, that we job out, we're in our work, but we never prepare ourselves to stop jobbing and only be in our work. Right? At some point, the goal, the reality has to become or should be, right, that I am working towards doing this. Watch this. How much money are you investing out of your money, right? Once again, you can give tithe, right? Is tithing. If you can give 10% to, heck, if you can give 50, 60, 70% of your money to the government, why can you not give 10% of your money to yourself? Why can you not give 10% to someone else? Why can you not have 10% then to pay your bills with? Does it mean that you might not have to have a regular type of vacation? You might have to figure out vacation differently than everybody else is, right? Your vacation might not be $12,000 vacation. It might not be $5,000 vacation. It might not be $800 vacation, right? But make your vacation something that maybe is on hold for a few years and use vacation money to start the business. You can go right now and for free get an EIN. You can start using that EIN no matter how your business is doing or not doing. You can start getting rid of your social security number and start writing down the EIN all day, every day, right now. Right? Like those are things you can do right now to create an environment where you call the shots. And now here's the key. When you call the shots, it's by your free will. This is what the Most High is looking for. When you call the shots, basically by your free will, you get to decide, will I serve the Most High or not? Will I rest inside of that which has been completed? If you do that now, you're going to the higher level. Now you're going to the next dimension. Now you're doing things that are called, that are above and beyond anything you could ever imagine, according to the power that's been placed within inside of you, or within you. I said within inside of you, within you. All right. That being said, thank you everybody for being on. We appreciate you. We appreciate you so very much. We had a couple different things that have, caused us to be able to look at the Most High differently. And I'm excited and thankful and grateful. We talked about so many different things, not only on the live session, but also in our early rise of Bible study session. Thank you for being on so much. As always, we give all praise and honor to the Most High, Yahweh, Elohim. We give praise and honor to him for my wife, the honorable mind, who lives a life that's able to be honored. We ask that you be a hearer of this word, but also study and meditate on it so you can be a doer of Yahweh's word as well. We also, once again, recommend heavily, I can't say this enough, how life-changing it would be for you to go and check out Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. That is my wife. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, tincture of the month, even though she has many tinctures, which is just herbs that are put in a certain type of form that you'll be able to utilize as medicine and can be a blessing to you. The tincture of the month is still I Am Redeemed. Um, Brothers, thank you again for those who are with us for our men's meeting on Shabbat on Saturday. We appreciate it. Women's meeting is coming up this Saturday. Ladies, if you don't have the link or you don't have it emailed to you already, let us know. But you should already have it emailed to you. Let's see. What else are we looking for? Don't forget Thursday Rising Prayer. That's conference call line. If you need the information for that, let us know. We'll give it to you. Thank you so much. Tedach Yashdale, Bevakasha Yashdale. Appreciate it. We are going to be back on live. We're on live every Rising, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on live in the evenings, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. So we will be back for a short live this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. If you would like to join us then. Thank you so much. We have just started the series of Sabbath. So we will. I know there's many other questions, many other things, many other questions as far as the functionality and the ordinances and all these different things. We will make sure that we start getting into those and maybe even do a little Q&A at the end of the week and possibly have somebody else besides myself during this week come up and give you guys some stuff. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work. But we will have it on here. We will make it work for you guys ASAP. So thank you. We appreciate you all once again. We appreciate the king and queen in each and every one of you. And Patreon members, I am trying my best to catch up, but we do have videos. They just aren't necessarily put on Patreon, but they're actually uploaded. For those who've been interested, by the way, I've been having a lot of people ask questions about the music and stuff you're hearing. Yes, that is me. It's older music. If you can actually listen to it, you actually hear us still using like God and Yeshua instead of Yashvai and and we're using Yahweh instead of Yahweh, I think, but we're using some of the older stuff to get it back out there. And so if you want via donation, as you can hear, we're playing it, so it means that the stuff is pretty much ready to go. So if you're interested in that, let us know as well. Those donations will help us with trying to, basically fund. So for fundraising for the community, things for the land and things for food and things like that, clothing, etc. And also we're getting closer to finally having our clothing and stuff like so for the shirts and things like that as well. Thank you so much for the gifts, for the super chats, for the love that you guys have shared across all these platforms to everybody. We can't tell you enough how much and thankful we are and grateful we are. We appreciate you all. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to take our leave now. So thank you so much. If I didn't get to your questions today, I do apologize. There's a lot of stuff that was popping up at us. And obviously, you can tell when we start talking about our culture, a lot of people get certain things that they get caught up on, and they don't really want to leave that subject matter. So we don't mind answering questions, doing certain things, but we also know there's a lot of people who are, trying to, do a lot of different things, go a lot of different directions. But we appreciate you guys for staying with us and listening in and, learning and growing with us. So thank you again. And as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family, and we shall talk to you very soon. Peace.
I'm balanced, uneven yoke. I'm balanced, saying, get your life on track.